Here we go, folks. Another dose of Don and Dan's toxic masculinity. The medicine doesn't always have to taste good, but it's good for you. In the studio today, we have the honor and the pleasure of having the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock. Now, Ken, I hate to start off the show with a altercation, but obviously you have never been around me within the hour of eating a bowl of chili. You think you are the world's most dangerous man? I lay the gauntlet down. Drop the mic. It's over, folks.
Chili. Okay, that's hard to top.
Opener, folks.
That's a challenge.
That one's a challenge, brother. Chili. Chili.
He's safely on the other side of the U.S.
Yeah, he's over 2,000 miles away talking shit.
Oh, man.
We got to see if you can step up to the plate.
Maybe,
Hey, there we go.
maybe I'll put this on so people don't recognize who I am now, huh?
Yeah,
No.
You lost us now.
Yeah.
But the bowl of
there he
chili,
is.
man.
Dan Severn.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Oh,
Now I'm hungry. Bowl of chili sounds like something good right now. Yeah.
well, we had some yesterday.
That was good, too. It was awesome. Just a small bowl, but it was good.
Is it here or did it go to Lisa's house? I think it's on the refrigerator.
Yeah, I don't know, but boy, it was good.
It's my refrigerator I keep outside.
Yeah.
So we had a
Storage.
nice dinner last night, and word on the street is that and around the water cooler, Dan Severn was afraid to be here today because there was too much testosterone in one concentrated area. Dan, I think you got to defend yourself and let us know why.
No, dude, come on. I think it was the chili.
Well, it could be the chili, but I actually think it is the fact that there was too much toxic masculinity, but we need to disperse it throughout the United States a little bit more. It was like a nuclear bomb all in one area, and I'm just simply going out to a couple other areas simply to spread a little bit more masculinity where it is needed, because we do live in a very weak society where people are afraid to speak their minds because they might be called being a racist, or maybe be called a homophobe, or being simply called a person who actually has an honest opinion, is what I think about it.
I don't know. I've been called all those
there
things,
you
and I
go,
accept
folks.
it. I accept
We're
every one of
We're
them.
not going to be politically correct about anything.
He's a cold water, missing cold water version of the Chinese virus.
Yeah, the virus. Yeah, it's deadly, and it's going to kill all of us.
Does it cause an itch and a drip like the other virus?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, I think you guys are the experts on that one.
Come on, man. Don't
pro wrestling.
don't make it
Oh,
that
yeah, those
easy.
were the things we weren't going to talk about.
That's
My
like,
bad.
don't make it that easy.
So what's it like, Ken, sitting here with sitting across two of your nemesi? What's the feeling like? Is it like
It does. I mean, I don't think I've ever felt with competing with these guys ever like they were nemesises or enemies, but obviously competitors when we were competing. Yeah, absolutely, man. And it was the thought of fighting guys that you knew that when you were getting in the ring that you were going to have a fight. Like, you knew these guys that you fought, you were going to have to go out and be at your best to win or to try to get a win. So for me, it was always, especially going in there and fighting them, it was always for me an honor to step in there and fight the best. You don't want to fight anybody that wasn't the best. It's like, why are you getting in there and putting in the training if you're not going to fight the best?
Waste of time.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not here to fight the fifth best or the third best. I want the best. And these guys at that time, when they were fighting and I stepped in the ring to fight them, they were the best. And so I got that chance to do that. So, and then it was an honor. And to sit here now and be able to sit down and shoot the breeze and kind of kick each other in the
Chili-
teeth a
chili
little bit.
breeze. Shoot the chili breeze.
Yeah. And be able to, kind of get to know each other a little bit better. Because, like I said, we've known each other through social media and through press conferences and other things to really be able to come in with the guard down and not having to compete or try to challenge one another. It's a good feeling to sit here and just kind of shoot the breeze and see whether or not you can kind of kick each other in the teeth a little bit verbally.
Yeah, get a little dig in there.
Yeah, see if you can get away with it. Well, with Don, I'm not sure I can compete with him because he has no feelings.
Yeah. It just bounces off. He doesn't give a shit what you think or what you say or what anybody says.
Dan Severn, yes. Dan has virtuous feelings.
Yeah. Right.
And there's lines that he will not cross.
Right. Listen, do not cross those lines. Well, now that you said it, those lines are broken.
Now that I know, I know it's going to upset you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's an open door.
Hey, Dan, so a lot of people out there, I'm sure, want to know if the animosity back in the day, between you and Ken and between Don and Ken was real, and a lot of people didn't have the privilege of being there and experiencing all this stuff. Do you want to go over a little bit of how that was for you on your end?
Yeah, I would be more than happy to. Ken kind of encapsulated it pretty well there.
5,000 words or less.
We didn't know each other, and so you simply just. Okay, not going to happen, Don. It's going to roll off and then go a couple of tangent stories, and then I'm going to forget where I was, and then here we are.
And we're talking about the topiary,
But,
the hedges again.
That one played out perfect.
We'll come back to that.
but okay. Yeah, so now that Mr. Frye interrupted me, and I'm sure we're going to have more interruptions throughout the course of this. If it's not going to be him, it's going to be his other co-captain there, Quinn, which, again, I think sometimes I like Quinn more than I like Don, but that's
a no-brainer
story. So
That's easy.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
All right, Severn.
So getting back to what you asked me there, Rich. Yes, say again, Don?
I'm looking for you to just go back. Hit that one again. Start from the beginning.
Okay. All
Let's
right.
begin at the
So
beginning.
coming back here again, yes. Lord have mercy right now. I thought this would be better a couple thousand miles away, but when they say that you can simply pick up the phone and reach out, touch somebody, they're wrong about that one. Yeah. Okay. So Ken said it perfectly. We didn't know each other. We were just competitors at that point in time, and competing against each other. Sometimes things get twisted in. Could be from the media standpoint. Could be from just other information that is out there. The hardest part was when we were first competing. We did not have the luxury of the internet. So realistically, we couldn't, like today, all you got to do is Google a person's name and you can get all kinds of information about them. But back during that time, you would show up to a press conference. It wasn't a weigh-in because there was no weight classes. So to show up to a press conference on a Friday night, and again, I'm talking about the tournament format of what it was like back then, and to for the first time ever see the 7 other male competitors, and you learned about them as the mediator would say, contestant number 1 stand on up, and then basically they had a kind of a sheet of paper that they were just simply reading out off that this is Hoist Gracie. He stands this tall. He weighs about this much. His martial art is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I mean literally. Then he would sit on down, and then you would go down to contestant number 2. So they would run down this list of the 8 different competitors, and then they would pull out a bingo ball machine. And in this bingo ball machine, it had 8 different names onto it. They would spin it around, and then the first one pops out. Then it might be like Ken Shamrock, Okay, then they spin around again, and then it'd be like, Tank Abbott, and you finally know who your first opponent is going to be less than 24 hours before you're about to step into the cage against them. You did not know who this other person was. You knew no background about them. It really was the wild, wild west. You were flying by the seat of your pants. You tried to find out whatever you possibly could in the next 24 hours, and then just jumping in this tournament format. And as soon as your match, you try to watch matches before yours to see what things that you could find out enough that would aid you in your upcoming match. Or if you got up there first, then as you're trying to get rested up, recouping for your next match, you're watching the match after yours, trying to figure out who is going to be victorious and come out. And again, to try to find out any kind of an edge that you could, weakness that you could see just by watching them in their match. So with that one foundation being laid, that during that nose barred era, I always wonder how many of these young guys and gals today would be willing to step into that type of a format. I mean, we can't go back in time, but I mean, it's one of those interesting things that how many guys you think can be able to do something like that, or even would step up to it.
Yeah, that's
I did not hear that.
Yeah, I think Don said that most of these guys weren't even thought of yet. They weren't even. The sperm wasn't even stirred yet.
Sperm wasn't even developed.
Yeah,
in the egg.
right.
So what you're bullshitting around is that you didn't have any bad feelings towards Ken? Is that what I'm hearing?
Not until after that.
No.
Not until after that fight in Wyoming.
I wouldn't exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't say exactly that either, because again, we didn't know each other at that point. So you simply look at that as the opposition, because that's someone that you're going to compete against. It's not that you dislike them, whatever. That represents your competition. Everyone wants to be the alpha male. That's just when you got a bunch of guys around, everyone wants to be the alpha male. Only one person gets to be the alpha male. And so when you got a bunch of alpha males around, and you're about to climb into a cage.
Yeah, and I know this for where I was standing and how all of this started to generate towards our anger and our frustration towards each other was when we were in Wyoming. And we had this press conference, and Dan and myself were called into this press conference, and Phyllis came with him, which was his manager. And we sat down at this table, and I remember I was talking, and the interviews were going, and so Dan gets up in the middle of the press conference, literally gets up in the middle of the press conference, looks at me, and then like F you, didn't say it, but like that look, like. And then walks off. And I was like, what just happened? Like, I remember slamming my hands on the table going,
he doesn't like
that's
me.
Disrespectful. That's disrespectful. And then Phyllis literally jumps, I kid you not, jumps across the table at me and says, he's going to kill you. And I was like, who is she?
This is crazy, bro. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not fighting her because she was vicious on me, man. And I remember that's what really started with me and Dan, was that when he got up and walked out, I think he was and Dan can speak for himself, but I think in his mind is like, I'm wasting my time here. Like, I don't know why I'm here. So he gets up and leaves. And in my mind, I'm going, you punk. Why did you just get up and walk out while I was talking? And then Phyllis jumps all over me. And so then when we had the fight, we went in, we had the fight, and then after the fight was over, Dan whispered in my ear when we were talking to one another, and hey, I didn't mean anything by that. And I was like, yeah, okay, no problem, But I think anybody that knows me, the way that I go into a fight is that I pick, and I literally pick at something that makes me mad. at my opponent and gets me to where my blood is boiling because
you didn't have that problem with me.
No, that was really easy. Anybody could just look at you and find something
I didn't have to pick it. Don gave me all kinds of ammo to be mad. so yeah, I didn't have to pick him. But Dan was different. Dan was different because Dan was legitimately a good dude. Like, I mean, he was like, everybody knows Dan.
Wait a second.
And he was a good guy. He was respectful, you know, and he was nice, right? And so for me, I had to find something that I could be pissed off at him about. Don, I could look at you and you would give me that little raise of an eyebrow and that pissed me off.
Wow. You just did it again.
Yeah,
motherfucker.
See, that works.
I'm just sitting here.
Yeah, see, what am I doing, right?
So
that's how easy it is.
On me. He's always picking on me.
So training with this guy, that was a psychological thing that I think you like to do, right, Don? You know, try to get in other people's heads. Any try to establish any kind of advantage. You know, how did you feel going into all these?
Well, fuck, Ken was basically too dangerous to leave calm and let him think his way, you know, through the fight. You know, you had to stir the pot against Ken. I mean,
because if he didn't, I would.
Yeah. Well, once you get pissed, then your rationale level disperses.
Well, I mean, some people can say that, but for
that,
me, that's the way I've always fought. Yeah. You know, I'd gotten older, no question. Being aggressive and maybe angry like that might have been detrimental to me, but I'd done it my whole career. That's all I've ever done was pick and start fights with people before the fight as a psychological advantage. So I had always done that. And so, but as I got older, you know, a lot of people say, well, you know, maybe it caused you not to think clearly. But if it did, it didn't hurt me when I was younger because it's exactly how I fought when I was younger.
Right.
So, yeah, but
it was just too fun.
But it sold tickets. It sold tickets, brother.
You know,
it's too fun not to do what you watch and piss.
Right.
Yeah, Ken, we were talking earlier about the buzz and before those fights, you know, at the Saitama Super Arena and you know, at the weigh-ins. I mean, at the weigh-ins, at a press conference. Do you guys remember where that was at? The press conference where you were in the cage?
Oh man, he threw water in my face.
Yeah. Oh, and then it broke. It all hell broke loose. I remember jumping the cage and getting in and trying to keep you guys apart. And that's when I knew it wasn't an act.
No,
you know,
it was no, and it never was for me. Ever was for me because it was real. I made it real, and even for anybody, these other fighters, they don't do this because it's not real. They do it because it's real. They find things that make them feel the way they want to feel going into a fight. It's just like with Don. Don had the luxury, right? He could fight a guy that he could shake hands with and hug him, and even before the fight, he could do that. But he also had the luxury of doing the other side, which is being a shit talker or disturber or getting people's heads. So he was able to do that. I wasn't capable of making those adjustments. I was one way and one way only, and that was I needed to be angry and I needed to hate you. I needed to be going after you, and that's the only way I would get in the ring and fight. Is I had to build up that anger, that hatred, that frustration towards my opponent.
I needed that too because I couldn't go in there and fight somebody that you know you're friendly with and you know you're gonna go to little league baseball games together. You know? Right. I want to make sure I didn't like this. You know, I mean I don't like you at all.
Yeah, no, and I know that. That's why we're honest with each other, though.
Right.
Honesty is better than being.
It's very simple. One of them reach over there, punch you in the face.
You can't reach me though, but that's cool. So.
You just wasted space right now, brother. You're
Dan safely in Michigan.
Yeah. in the bat cave.
But no, I'll jump in there for another couple.
5,000.
I'll jump in there and then talk about like that first meeting that Ken and I had. That there was this interview taking place, and the interview that was taking place, these were rather. I mean, it was weird questions they just asking. I'm thinking this is not right. We shouldn't both be in the room, be here at the same time. We're about to fight each other later this evening, or it was like the following that. I can't remember what the time frame was. It was all within 24 hours.
It was that day.
I'm going to, and I actually leaned over and whispered into Phyllis's ear, and I said, I'm going to step out, so that Ken can answer all of his questions without me being right here. And then when he's done, I'll come in and then I'll do my portion of the interview. So I basically just kind of, I didn't want to interrupt Ken, so I just kind of excused myself, told Phyllis what I was doing, so in case the interviewer wanted to know what's happened, and I left.
Oh, you had to
But
go
that's
dye
when
your
I was
hair.
told to
Tell the
after
truth.
the aftermath.
You had to go dye
well,
your hair, Dan.
And apparently Phyllis only heard jump as shit.
Oh my goodness! Yes, that was.
And Don, I thought I paid you off to Don not to be talking about my hair coloring techniques. You know,
You
okay?
look great, Dan.
Yeah, right.
That's because you broke the pact. You were supposed to meet on a Saturday and do it together.
Right.
Yeah, my nose is stained and got in my eyeball.
That's great. Oh my goodness, I love this.
So, Ken, tell us about the fight. Your fight with Don first.
Yeah, I tell you, the build up to it was awesome. We did this tour, and I believe that was the first time that they were actually doing this tour from Japan into the United States. Right. And so when they approached me about it, it was a young lady who was a part of the boxing world, came in and was going to put this together as a tour with me and Don traveling across the U.S., doing these different tours and stuff. And I was like, wow, that's, especially for us fighting over, I believe it was in Japan, right? Yeah. So I was like, wow, this is going to be a worldwide thing. So as we started the tour, me and Dan had some really, really bad.
Don, right? Or
Don had some really. Did I say Dan?
Yeah, it's okay, man. It's all right.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
All those white guys with dark hair, mustaches looking like.
All you white guys look the
you
same.
know which one are you talking about?
White heterosexuals.
Yeah, hey, listen, I've been hitting the head a lot, right? Actually, by Don one time real hard, too. I lost my memory.
Just once?
Yeah. One time was all it took, brother. But, so as we were traveling, we had some verbal conversations that were really getting under my skin and trying to get under his skin. And I know that when we were going face to face on all these different places, my intentions were to just really get into him and really just try to start this rivalry, and that every time that I would be in front of him, I would try to dog him. I would try to get in his face. I would try to make him angry, try to start a fight, or anything that would constantly keep him mentally tired of me just constantly battling him and coming at him and by saying things.
Kind of like a marriage.
Things. Exactly. That's perfect. But I wouldn't say a marriage. I'd say a divorce.
Oh, yeah. You clocked him. Keep going. Hit him again.
He was laying the grounds for divorce. Yeah, laying the grounds for divorce.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I also knew the media was going to eat it up. I just knew it. And Don had the same idea. So it was really just like when I've had other fights with other people, you would know when it was a pleasure, even though you're not liking each other, but it was a pleasure that you had somebody to bounce off of. Like sometimes I would go at somebody and they wouldn't do anything. They just kind of sit there, and I was like, you can't do anything with that. But whenever I went to Don, man, he gave it back in double that. So it was this jousting going on the whole time that we were on tour. But then there were a few moments in there where we let each other know that, okay, man, we're on the same page here. I don't hate you, but this is business, right? So there was a little bit of that camaraderie in there that was in between these different things that we had kind of done with each other. I think Don actually made the first move over there to say, hey, I don't hate you, but I'm going to kick your ass. So, but at the same time, that was good, right? It was like, okay. And that way I felt comfortable even going harder at him. And even when he threw the water in my face and we went at one another, we got so much coverage out of that, right? Yeah. And so when we actually did the fight, there was so much attention being paid to what we were going to do that night before the fight ever happened. And so going all into that week and going into the fight, to me, it was like, dude, this was, I could feel it. Like I could feel the energy. I could feel the excitement. And then they're talking about the actual fight. My strategy was to go in there and literally stand up with him and make him come after me by strikes, punches, clinches. And then as he started to get tired, I would then attack his legs, which is, if you watch the fight, it's kind of how it went. We kind of went at one another, a lot of clinching, a lot of punching. And then I would go after him at the end of the round, knowing that if I went after him and I didn't succeed in tapping him out, using a lot of energy to commit the submission, which is what I did, that the round would end. And unfortunately, in some of those rounds where I had attacked him and I got after him, I ran out of time. Like, the bell literally rang when I was literally putting him in the leg lock and was cranking on it, starting to try to turn it and turn it and turn it, and the bell rang. And so it was probably, the 3 minutes left in the last round? Something like that. 3 minutes left, 4 minutes left in the last round. He catches me with this left hook. Okay, now I'm being honest, man. I've never, and even to the end of my career to this day, I have never, other than Mark Coleman when we were practicing, right? We were doing some practicing, and he hit me with a hard shot.
There's no practicing with Mark Coleman, though.
Right? That's what I'm hearing. I didn't know that at the time. So, but when he hit me, and I actually went down, I do not remember going into the leg lock, putting the leg lock on. And then as I'm sitting there, everything starts to come clear, and I see Don looking at me, and I'm like, oh, shit.
What's he doing over there?
Yeah, like, we're in a fight.
Playing Twister?
Yeah. And I've said this before in other interviews, is I've been hit a lot. I have never, ever been unconscious with anyone. And that was the only time that I've ever been in a fight where I've been hit. And I literally do not remember going from the stand-up to the ground. I don't remember how we got there. And I remember watching it on video going, well, I look pretty good.
Shit, I wish I'd known that.
I don't. I know. I'm glad you didn't know.
One of my questions was, did I ever hurt you with anything?
Oh, yeah, you did. Oh, yeah. If you would have stood up for me and just stepped back and made me get up, I'm not sure I would have been able to stand up and without wobbling, because I like I said, when he hit me, I do not remember going from stand up. And when I hit the ground, all of that was, I don't know how I got there.
Right.
Yeah.
So since he shared a little story, I'm going to have to share a little story too, you know?
All right, sweetheart. Let's hear it.
So along the lines of, you know, he wanted to know if he ever hurt you, you know, and you, of course, you just told us a story that you.
Oh,
you know,
he didn't hurt me. I don't remember.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So
loss of memory.
You know, the fight continues, and he gets the decision, and he's walking out, you know, like John Wayne there on the.
Right, with a bullet hole in his ear.
Yeah, so we get into a hallway, and all of a sudden he's like, his knees are really just like giving out, you know?
Yeah, I'm strutting out
in front of the crowd, you know, just like, you know.
The John Wayne strut.
We get into this hallway where no one can see, and he's like, needs some help getting down the hallway, you know? And we get down this hallway towards the dressing room. We open up the doors, and there's a bunch of media people taking pictures, and he just pushes the help aside, starts strutting again, you know, like.
Tell him. I mean, as soon as we got in that hallway, I grabbed
both of us.
Grabbed Sam.
And his feet were doing this dragging, you know, like you're taking your drunk buddy out of a bar, you know. Yeah. It was pretty bad. So they were effective, you know.
My God.
Yeah,
you know.
And again, you talk about being in a fight and having fights, even with Dan. You know, with Don, I knew he was a tough kid. I knew he wasn't going to tap. He was going to have to break something, right? I knew that. I knew right from the get-go, because his mentality is the same as mine, is I'm not tapping, right? I'm not going to do that. And so I knew that going into that fight, that me and him were going to have to put each other to sleep. That's just the way it was. Or I was going to have to maim him enough to where he couldn't walk. And so we both knew that.
Yeah, you kind of did.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do it in the fight. It came after that. But even with Dan, and I was talking to Don about it a little bit earlier, was that, you know, and it's something that we've never been able to share, because we've kind of been at one another quite a bit over stuff that I didn't know and Dan didn't know, but now that we've kind of aired it out, we understand now. But Dan was one of those kind of guys that, and even in that fight, I knew that Dan was, he was going to be one of my toughest fights to that date, that he was coming, and all the things he had done prior to that, he was a beast, literally. And so I know going into that fight that it was going to be a tough one. Now, when I actually got the win in that fight, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that was not the Dan Severn that if whatever the reasons were, that would have come in and fought me at 100%. I know that, right? I know Dan and what he has accomplished and everything that he's done up to that point, that I didn't get the best Dan. That I understood, right? So even when we went into the second one, obviously we both know that was horrible. I didn't fight. Dan didn't go and fight. We just didn't do the right things to go in and do what we needed to win, right? But I also, too, want to make sure people realize that fighters have off days, right? And if Dan would have been at 100% and would have been come into that fight like I normally would see him come in when he was doing the tournaments, it would have been a different fight. There's no question. But at the same time, I also want people to realize that when you were carrying the strap, you were the best in the world. Nobody could beat you. When Dan was carrying the strap, nobody could beat him. He was the best in the world. When I was carrying the strap,
you were the best.
I was the best in the world. And that's one thing I think people need to realize is stop taking away people's accomplishments. Because when they're carrying the strap, I don't care what excuse or what thoughts you have, they were the best in the world. And then don't go saying, well, they didn't fight him or they didn't fight. You fought everybody they put in front of you to win and carry that strap. End of story.
Yeah, between these three guys here, there's 149, is it? 149 MMA, professional MMA victories, and a lot of those are defending championships.
100 of those are Dan's, aren't they?
Yeah, no, I think 148 are Dan's. But don't take away from that was your speech. Don't take away from your accomplishments, man. So, and you know, another thing that
finish.
I got to get my 4,000 words in. Hey, so. A lot.
I was a journeyman. It was called piecework. I wasn't being paid by the hour. I was being paid by the piece.
So these younger guys will say, "Oh, the game has evolved. They don't know the ground game like we know it now, or they don't know that." They just don't know, is what you know what I mean. They just don't know how much submission you guys. Just because you go out there and don't show it in a fight doesn't mean that you don't have it. And you know, sometimes you just want to put on a good show and just bang with somebody, you know, and that doesn't mean that you won't get submitted by this guy if they need to show you what's up, you know.
Well, the thing is, too, is that you realize that times change. It's like watching the NFL back in the 60s, you know, and then you watch the NFL today, or even back in the 80s and you watch the NFL today. I mean, you can't touch the quarterback. You can't hit the receivers. They're going to have more yards, more catches, more touchdowns. And so when you try to compare them to, you know, Kenny Stabler, as opposed to Tom Brady or Bradshaw to Tom Brady or Montana to Tom Brady, you can't, because the game is different.
It's a different
It's just
game,
like with the fight game. You cannot compare what we did in our time for what they're doing today, because it's different. We didn't have the training technologies. We didn't have all the setups and the diet and all of the stuff that they have now today.
Much more violent.
Yes, exactly. It was a lot more tougher guys, as far as tough guys that did it when we did it, as opposed to today.
But the thing is, Ken, what I hate is the word tough. You know, it goes to the tough man contest.
Right.
No,
That's
completely
different. Right.
fucking different,
Right.
man.
Right.
Completely different. So when you're thinking about the tough man contest and not what we did. We were tougher, raw bone tougher, but we still were intelligent fighters.
Right.
We still knew, you know, the game that you all playing now, but you know, fuck, we just didn't get there most of the time because the other guy, I mean, you got two monsters, violent monsters
That want to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to test each other. As of today, it's more of a business to a lot of them. For us, it was like just showing our toughness. How we're going to go in there and bang with each other, and I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm gonna beat your ass.
But now they're thinking about the next fight rather than that fight in front of them. You know, that they're in that night. They're thinking, well, I can't get hurt. How did I get to that fight? No, there is no next fight. You take care of the fight in front of you.
Yeah, it's more of a business now.
Yeah.
Yep.
It went from a fight to a business to a TV show.
Right.
You know? And right now it's a TV show, and it's a horrible show.
Yes.
Trying to get back to the fight.
Yeah, yes, that's what people want to see is fights, but they also want to see that storyline of why these guys are fighting each other, because there's so many fights out there right now. And the thing I would tell anybody that's fighting is, hey, man, don't go in there and be silent. I mean, go in there. You don't have to go out and talk smack me like that, but do something that makes you stand out, because there's 100 other guys like you that are fighters. So I don't know if it's your brand or if it's your marketing or however you're going to do it, but you got to make sure that you're the one they pick for that title fight. Just like with you and me. It's like, in order for you to get that fight, you got to make that thing squeaky. You got to make it loud so that you're the one going to get that fight.
Yeah, you pull a Conor McGregor or the Colby Covington, and you let them know that
I'll sell tickets.
Yeah, you're squeaking. That this wheel is squeaking. This wheel's going to draw some attention.
Right? Yeah. Just like with Dan Severn saying, when the gates close, release the beast.
That's generally at the cafeteria, though.
Exactly right.
Hometown buffet.
Boy, I don't need that kind of help there, Don. I don't need that kind of help. Take your medication. All right, so Ken, let's go back in time here a little bit. Before there was the fighting Ken Shamrock, before there was the professional wrestling Ken Shamrock.
Your days of
tell us a little bit about your childhood, or where you can go back as far as you can remember back to where you growing up through the foster home type system, because I mean that was something that was very, very enlightening to me through the different kinds of conversations that I've heard, and kind of definitely showed a lot more background information that you grew up on one side of the railroad tracks, where I was definitely on the opposite side of a railroad tracks right there. So tell people a little bit about growing up as
racism,
Ken Shamrock, or before you even took on the Shamrock name. What was it about?
Yeah, it's first of all, it's Georgia. Macon, Georgia is where I was born at and started to grow up. I was in a really, really rough neighborhood. Me and my two older brothers were basically staying in one room. We didn't have any mirrors, didn't have any TV, barely food. My biological mother was what we call today a stripper, but a go-go dancer. So there was a lot of shady people that came around and did some pretty crazy things that we as kids had to kind of deal with, right, as we grew up. But we because we were in this environment, at a young age, 6, 7 years old, we were fighting all the time because we were constantly fighting for whether it was space in our yard or whether it was, somebody saying something to us. It was either, as a kid, you either lay down and get beat up or you start fighting and get beat up. And I learned early on that you got beat up a lot less if you started fighting back. And so my mindset from that point on, 6, 7 years old, was like, okay, if there's 3 or 4 or 1, doesn't matter. If they start coming at me, big or small, I'm going to fight you, because felt like I wasn't getting beat up as bad when I was fighting back. And so that just kind of set it early on in my mindset was, okay, you look at me wrong or you say something to me, I'm hitting you, I'm going after you. And so as we grew up in this area, probably around 8 or 9 years old, we ended up picking up and moving to Napa, California. Now, in Georgia, it was all predominantly African-American. We grew up. There was one other white family in this area, and we were constantly fighting. Didn't know why we were fighting, just that we knew we were different. And so we were fighting all the time. Well, then we pick up and move to Napa, California, which is predominantly white. And when we get there, my first day of school there, I get into a fight. I'm fighting all the time because I was different. I walked differently. I talked differently. I dressed differently. I had the Southern accent. I didn't dress with a lot of class. I dressed like I didn't have a lot of clothes to wear. So I was fighting because of where I had come from. And I was fighting the same thing because I came from that place. I was fighting there. So it felt like when I moved from one place to another, there was nowhere for me to go that I fit into. And so then it led to me fighting more, and it led to me stealing and robbing and doing things I shouldn't have been doing. At the age of 10 years old, I had gotten stabbed in a fight and ended up in the hospital, got arrested for strong-arm robbery, breaking and entering, several counts of breaking and entering, and assault. And so I woke up handcuffed to a bed, read me my rights, ended up going through a lot of different placements in group homes. I failed all of them. Same thing, fighting, constantly running away from homes because, one, I didn't have an upbringing. I didn't understand what it was to have somebody try to raise me or try to take care of me. Everybody was out for themselves. I didn't trust anyone. So I ended up running away one home after another, ripping off stores, ripping off people, breaking into cars, stealing rims, stereos, anything I do to make money. Time I was 13 years old, I ended up at a place called the Shamrock Boys Ranch. That was the first time where I actually ended up somewhere where I felt like the guy that was running the home, which was Bob Shamrock, that literally cared who I was as an individual because I was constantly fighting. Instead of looking at me as this fighter and this punk kid, he looked at me as like, okay, he's got anger issues, frustration. He's more outward with it. So like if somebody looks at me, they start to say something, I hit them. And so he was like, okay, let's get him into sports. And so he put me in sports, football, wrestling. I became relevant. All of a sudden, instead of these people looking at me going, there's this punk kid, nobody wants to deal with me, nobody cares about me. All of a sudden, I got these coaches and these teachers. Now I feel relevant because I can tackle, I can hit, I can score touchdowns, and I can pin people. I can go in and wrestle and beat people up within the rules. And so now all of a sudden, I went from this kid that was doing all of that to an instructional area where I was taking the anger and I was keeping it within the rules of the games I was playing. And all of a sudden now, I wasn't the kid getting arrested or putting in juvenile hall. I was a kid getting medals hung around my neck and winning football games. And now all of a sudden, teachers are helping me get good grades. And all these things started to fall in line. And I realized my senior year, I went undefeated in wrestling my senior year. And it went through won sections. And I go into the wrestling area and I end up breaking my neck. I went because we didn't have anybody in there taping the match together or cleaning them because the season was over and I was the only one that had qualified. So we had guys come in and they were helping me. Well, they didn't tape the mats and clean the mats and I just slipped and the guy fell on me and broke my neck. And now all these things that I was relevant for, all these things I did that made me feel good and that made me feel relevant was now all of a sudden in jeopardy. I was told I would never play contact sports again. 17 years old, after everything that I went through, did everything right, it was being taken away. My father said something to me when I was in the hospital, and I'll never forget this. He told me, he said, you can lay there and pout about it, or you can get up and do something about it. Now, what he was saying to me was like, yeah, this is bad news, but you're the only one that's going to be able to change where you're at right now. Nobody's going to do it for you. You're the only one that can do it. And from that point on is where I really started to take initiative. I turned 17 a month after this. I realized that my options with scholarships were gone. No colleges were going to touch me. And so I realized what he had said to me was as black and white as you could get it. And so I started doing something about it. I started training. I started lifting. I started putting on size. I started getting strong. Started putting muscle around my injured area and ended up walking on at Shasta College playing football. I was the starter. I was the captain. I got a lot of awards when I was playing football and then did the Olympic trials in 88. And then one thing led to another where in my career and everything where I'm at right now, and all because of the one thing my father said to me was like, you're the only one that's going to change the direction here. Nobody's going to do it for you.
Yeah, strong stuff.
Wow. How old were you, Ken, at that time when you first met Bob Shamrock?
I was 13. 13 years old.
How many other boys were living in this group home at that time?
18 boys were in the home. There was 4 counselors. We had a bunkhouse that I believe it held 8 kids, and then we had 2 other rooms out there that held 3, and then in the main house they had 4 or 5 more rooms in the main house, and it was a mansion. I walked into this place, I was like, you guys came to the wrong house, because it was $1 million home. It was beautiful. And so every other home I went to, it was run down. They had counselors and house parents that would come in shifts, and they didn't own the home. The government did. But Bob Shamrock owned his own home. He invited these troubled kids into his home, his $1 million home that was a mansion, and invited us into his home so he could raise us and teach us right and wrong and teach us how to change the direction we were going by looking at kids and going, okay, you're outward with your aggression, you're inward with your aggression. There was a kid one time that was more of an artist, right? He wasn't into sports or anything like that. And my mom, I remember seeing how she dealt with this kid because he drew this drawing in class where he was standing on top of a pile of bodies and he was holding this head and it said, kill them all. It was a drawing. And they literally sent the kid home. And this is probably in 81. So they sent him home and said, he needs to be on some medication. He's crazy. And so when he sent him home, my mom looked at the picture and goes, wow, that's good. Because he was a great drawer, man. It was really good picture. And she saw the talent, not the actual aggression. And she looked at this and goes, wow, that's a great drawing. And then she said, basically, like, you can't draw this in school. Said, but when you're home here on study hour, because we did an hour of study hour every night, she goes, you can draw whatever you want for 30 minutes, whatever you want. He says, but after that, because at the time we were putting on an addition to the house, she says, I want you to draw an addition onto this house. He's like looking at her all blank, like, what do you mean? She's like, draw however you want to draw, but just add another side to the house here, what you think looks good. And of course, he starts doing it, right? And he draws the drawing on there, and of course, it looked good. And so my mama goes, okay, so what's the dimensions? What's the measurements from here to here to here? And the kid's like, well, I don't care. She goes, well, you know, if you want to learn this, you can literally learn how to draw and draw stuff onto additions and stuff like that. If you're interested, I can pitch you with the guy that's actually doing it, and you can kind of learn some of the stuff that they're doing. Because the kid's like, oh, whatever. So the kid goes and he actually starts learning how all this drawing works with the architect stuff and with the measurements and all that. The kid goes on later on and goes to college and becomes an architect. Now, listen, that could have gone to one of 2 ways. The same way it went in school. It could have been teachers send you home and call you crazy, or it could have been my mom going, okay, this kid's got talent. This kid's got something that's good. He can draw. Let's see how we can use this kid's frustration and anger and turn it into something positive, which is what they did with me with sports. I mean, you couldn't have told me, hey, you know what, go play sports and get you. No, they had to show you and then teach you the rules on how to stay within the rules, and you can be as aggressive and as mean and as hard as you want to do as long as you stay within those rules. And so it was just another aspect of how the Shamrock Boys Home was so much different than anyone else, because they were literally taking kids that had these issues and these problems and directing their intelligence or their mindset of things that they did well into something positive, and then showed them how to do it.
So did he have a part of the your teaching style or anything? Did he impart that stuff, at the Lions Den, what you were doing then?
No, I think that's the misconception a lot of times, where everybody thought my dad trained me and that, no. My dad was more of the mental support, loving support, caring support. I mean, he was always there, and he always had something to say to me that no matter what had happened, it would make me feel better. And he would give me thoughts and ideas to be able to fix whatever issue or situation I might be in at that time. So in that aspect, I mean, that was much, much bigger than being that trainer for me. What he was able to do for me was be able to bring out all of my abilities, and even in some of the things that I was doing wrong, he was able to approach me and be able to point those things out without me blowing up and, getting angry.
Hey, Ken, how many years had Bob been running this ranch, the Shamrock Ranch, before you were there? And how many years did it continue afterwards?
Yeah, he did. He was actually up in Anza, California first, where he had his first boys' home. And he drove a school bus while he had the home. And that's how he got started. Him and my mom had actually got started in the group home, and they raised horses and cattle up there. And even when they were in Susanville, they raised Arabian horses. He had 2 horses. One was a white one and a black one. And he would teach us how to take care of animals. And so that was a big part of our learning how to care for something, because they wouldn't talk back or be angry. So he had that group home in Anza for, I think it was about 12 years in Anza. And then when he moved up to Susanville and got that house, he was there for 27 years, I believe it was, in Susanville. And then, so I was there probably midway through that. And then, of course, I went to college. And then later on, I did other stuff. So I would say probably maybe 10 years after I had gotten out of college, he probably had the house about 10 more years after that. And that's when Frank came in. My brother Frank came in. He was adopted 10 years after me. So, but he'd helped over 1,000 kids, 1,200 kids, something like that. Even kids in the neighborhood that were in Susanville or in Anza, he would invite them over to the house, and a lot of kids would go to him because he was just that kind of guy that you knew that he was just a kind person, and that he was always positive, like he was always saying positive things. And so a lot of kids gravitated towards him because he was always, especially if they had problems at home, they always knew they could go to him, and he would have a conversation with them and then have a conversation with their parents. And it was never, it never turned into a bad thing, because just the way he would approach it and how he would talk to people.
Did you always consider that home after you became an adult?
Well, he was
Did
such
you
a
go
major.
back?
He was.
Did you go back there? You know, like, is that where you would go home to visit?
Yeah, that was my home. He adopted when I was 18 because my biological mother at the time, for whatever reason, didn't want me to be adopted. I don't know, because I was never raised by her. You know, I mean, I knew her and I knew who she was, but I was never really at that house because I was gone most of the time in juvenile hall and stuff. And so it wasn't like she wasn't raising me at the time. But then when I said that, you know, I think it was probably 15 years old, he wanted to adopt me, and I wanted him to adopt me. And my biological mother said no, she wouldn't let that happen. And I didn't understand it, because I told her, I said, I'm gaining a father. I'm not replacing you. And but she didn't want it to happen. And so when I turned 18, I went down, and my dad and myself went down and did it anyway. So, but yeah, so it was, like I said, without that specific part in my life, without that part of it, I would not be sitting here today talking with you guys with all of my accomplishments, because without the influence of Bob Shamrock, I am not the same guy.
The Funk family.
Well, obviously, there's a big influence right there, Ken, because when you look at what were your, I mean, you run a group home now for boys. How long have you been doing that?
Yeah, I'd actually done that in Lodi, California, in, I believe it was 94, 95, 96. I had actually started running the home for group homes. And the fact is, I was doing that home when me and you went to fight in Detroit, our second fight. And that was a big influence on some of the decisions I made going into that fight with the rules and stuff that they had set down, because I had 5 boys in the home. And one of the things that we preached, which is what I learned, stay within the rules and you could do whatever you want. And so I was struggling with that thing that they were trying to push across to us as fighters, of going ahead and doing it, and we'll find you later. But to me, in my mind, it was like, just 2 weeks prior to that, those guys in Canada got arrested, some of them for punching. And so I just couldn't take the chance of them arresting me and going to jail, because I broke the rules after preaching this to the kids in the way that I was raised to bring me where I was at today. Obviously, I wasn't an angel. I broke rules all the time, but I didn't do it in front of media. I didn't do it in front of the TV or cameras. You know, I mean, I did things that I'm not proud of, and that were mistakes probably, you know, but in the moment, I just got loose and did things. But I felt like this, where it was national TV, everybody's watching, and we know what the rules are. And so I couldn't put myself in that position to do that. So I only did that for 3 or 4 years after that. And then, of course, after that, I moved away and started another career in pro wrestling, started moving away from the MMA and started really digging in and finding out what I could do more in pro wrestling. And that's when, you know, WWF came in, and I started making a career there. yeah, so that's kind of how it worked. I didn't, like I said, I don't have a group home now for kids. I work with at-risk kids now, where I literally go out and I speak to different kids, whether in juvenile hall, group homes, or just kids that were at risk, that they literally have me come and talk to. So those are things that are very close to me and things I love doing because I've been there. I know what they're thinking. I know what they're going through. And with my success story and what I went through, I'm able to share with these kids the things that they can do if they decide to put their minds to it. But they got to do it. Nobody else can.
Definitely, you got a great story to tell there, Ken. That's again, these are things that I learned more and more about you as time progressed on. So, as I said before, you grew up on one side of the railroad tracks. I grew up on the other side. I grew up on Walton's Mountain, and I had like 15 other brothers and sisters, and milking cow tipping was the most scandalous thing that I probably got in trouble for. So,
Yeah.
whole different type of environment.
You're tipping them, yeah.
I did a little bit of that too myself.
Yeah.
That's not a very nice thing to say about the women in Michigan.
All right, so Ken, so you with the ended up with that last story there, talking about moving away from the group home to speaking to at-risk kids, and then you said that you started pursuing professional wrestling. How did that come about? Is it something that you saw and you thought you'd like to be a part of, or did some professional wrestlers or a professional promoter actually get in contact with you because you had that certain look, that certain appeal that they thought that they could utilize your physical attributes and stuff like that in the wacky world of professional wrestling? How did that come about?
Well, go back a little bit. I actually started pro wrestling before I started my MMA career. If it was back in, I believe, 89, 88, 89, 90, 91, somewhere around there. It was Buzz Sawyer. And I remember I went up there to take wrestling practices with him. And
Where?
Sacramento, California. And I was in Reno at the time. I was bouncing in Reno. And so I would drive up there. It was usually about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. And I would drive up every weekend. And when I would get there, Buzz would literally just have me go out there in the park and we would just do regular wrestling. So Buzz was testing me, right? He goes, okay, let's wrestle. Because Buzz was a stud when it came to wrestling. I mean, he had a background in college and all of it. And so when I wrestled him, he was tough, but I was able to get the best of him. And so once he saw that, a few weeks after that, he started doing these tryouts. And what he would do is he'd bring all these guys in and he would start getting their money. They would pay $1,200 to $1,500 for a tryout. And he would tell me to beat them up. Don't let him make it. Like, don't let him make it. And then he would tell me the ones he wanted to make. Like, there would be some smaller guys that I'm looking at going, yeah, let them pass. And I'm like, because they had money. Like, they were literally investing in what he was doing. One of them was a plumber, and he was going to invest. And he said, hey, let that guy. I weighed probably about 200 pounds. Like, and these other guys that came in one guy was called Horace, and he was like 240 pounds, 6'4", played football.
200 is pretty light for a plumber.
240. oh, I see. Yeah. So I would go in, and this dude was all yacked up, and I'd go in there, and I'd beat him up, and he'd quit, and Buzz would keep the money. And I did that for probably 6 months, just constantly driving up there. Every now and then, we would wrestle a little bit, but we wouldn't do any pro wrestling because he didn't have a ring or any setup. So he was literally going to these racquetball courts, and we'd go to the park or wherever he could find, and he would do these tryouts. And then, of course, we would do tie-ups and lock-ups and takedowns, but nothing like pro wrestling going off the ropes or anything. And so I was like kind of going, wow, are we going to ever learn this? And I remember my dad goes, because he'd bring me up all the time. He goes, yeah, this is just not working out. And so one weekend I went up to Buzz's, and I stayed at his house. And, of course, I knew he had bad habits, and I don't think that's something that was hidden. A lot of people knew that. And then I remember the next day when I had gotten up, he was dead. He went to one of the clubs down in Sacramento, and he died in one of the stalls because, in my thought, he owed people money, and that he was getting stuff from people that he owed money to, and they gave him a hot shot, and it killed him. And so he died. And so then I was like, okay, I mean, it doesn't sound right, but okay, I got to find somebody else to train.
Time to move on.
Yeah. So I end up, my dad looks for the place, and he finds Nelson Royals out in Mooresville, North Carolina. Now, go to figure, this isn't something that I chose to do. Like, I didn't go, hey, I want to go pro wrestling. My dad was the one that said, hey, you should try pro wrestling, right? And I was like, oh, okay, cool, I'll try it. So I go in there and I start doing this pro wrestling. And I go there and there's Tatanka's there. The Nasty Boys are there. There's a lot of these guys, Steamboat, Paul George. I mean, a lot of guys that literally did well in pro wrestling. And so I was with a group of guys that we were traveling around the Mooresville and North Carolina, South Carolina area putting on shows. And eventually I was carrying the strap. And so I started doing well. And then I got this opportunity to go over to Japan with Baba's group. And so I ended up going over there and doing a 6-week tour over there. Stayed the whole time. Didn't get sent home early, which is what I thought was going to happen, because that's what they said. If you don't get it, because I didn't get it. I mean, I was still young. And when I went to Japan, it was fast. And I was like, dude, this is not what we do in States. And so I had to learn, stay after with the young boys, train with the young boys, and start learning. Worked with the Can-Am Connection, Doug Furness, Danny Crawford. Those guys took me under their wing, along with Malenko, and worked with me while I was on the tour. Started getting pretty good at pro wrestling.
Dean,
yep. Started working with him and started doing pretty well. Then I ended up going back home, and then I did another little tour down there back home. And then Dean had come up, because I met him in Japan, to come up to my house in Mooresville, and he was going to run the circuit with us at North Atlantic Pro Wrestling. And so he would stay at my house. We were going to travel together. Well, he showed me this videotape of this UWF, which was pro wrestling, but it was like hybrid pro wrestling. Right. And so I watched it, and it was Funaki and Suzuki, and they were punching and kicking each other. And I was like, dude, what is that? Like, and I remember Dean going, well, man, those guys ain't playing. And I was like, I want to do that. And he looked at me like, you sure? And I was like, I want to do it. So he sent me up to his dad's place in Florida. And I remember doing a tryout, and just, I mean, even Bart Vale was there, right? And he was supposed to be one of their guys. But I beat them all up, and because I was a tough kid. I mean, I had the background, growing up in the streets. I knew how to box. I knew how to wrestle. And, you know, I was 220 pounds, benching 605. I was a strong kid. I was a great athlete. And so when I went in there, I just kind of started beating guys up. So it was normal for me to go in there and actually do this tryout. But they didn't have the skill sets the Japanese had, right? Yeah. So they ended up sending me to Japan to go there and work with some of the young boys and some of the Japanese kids. And I was like, yeah, so I go there. And I remember in there, and I'm working with these young guys, and I'm schooling them, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Like, this is it. This is what they got. And then I watched Suzuki and Funaki walk in the door. Like, I saw those guys on tape, and I was like, that's those guys. Of course, in my head, I was like, you know, when you don't know, you don't know, right? And I'm like, okay, let's go. So first one comes out, which is Suzuki. He goes about 180 pounds. He's 5'8". You know, I'm going to toss this kid around. Like, I'm going to smash this guy. There's no way he's going to out-wrestle me. So we go in there, we get going, and start going, and next thing he catches my back, and I'm like trying to pull him off, and all of a sudden I see him standing above me, and I'm like, what happened? He's like, get up. And I was like, what just happened? And I remember like thinking to myself, what happened? He's like, he got choked out. And I was like, choked what? So Sammy goes, listen, if you can't get out of something, tap. And I'm like, what? He goes, tap. And I'm like, I ain't tapping. It's like, because like, uncle, I'm not giving up. He's like, no, it's okay. It's like, if you get your leg or arm, I'm going to break it. You got to tap. And I'm like, so I go with him a little bit more. I go with about 20 minutes, and he beats the crap out of him. I mean, Suzuki just throws me around. He's choking me, arm barring me, leg locking me. And I'm just humiliated. I'm like, it's never happened to me. Then he asked me, want to keep going? I said, yeah. This is probably now about an hour and a half into with young boys and Suzuki. And I'm like, I gotta do better than this. Like, I feel like I just got destroyed. So Funaki comes in, and he's like 6'1", and he goes about 210. And I'm like, all right, I got to get big boy pants, man. Let's go. So I go in there, and I just got tooled. I mean, he just controlled me. Every time I thought I was in good position, armbar me, and just humiliated. I felt so bad, and I remember Sammy going, good job. And I was like, just to myself, you're just saying that. I go home. I think I blew it. I get a call, I don't know, maybe a month after that. Hey, you want to come to Japan? I was like, me? Like, yeah, yeah. So then I get up to Japan. They teach me the submissions. They teach me the hybrid wrestling. And I go out there and I win my first match. And, of course, it was hybrid wrestling. And so that's where my career started. That's when I really started to get a look. 17,000 people was my first match It was unbelievable. They were chanting my name afterwards. Once I felt that, that was it. I was in. And of course, the rest of it is all history from there to, Pancreas to the UFC into the WWF, and then back into that. So that's kind of the short, brief story, not brief, but short story in my long, short story, the journey that I had taken.
Well, that's cool. Shit. How about you, Mr. Severn? You have a short story?
Do I have a short story? No, Dan Severn never has a short story. You know that.
Hey, so
oh, my cramp out.
So during this wrestling, your professional wrestling career, you were telling us a story at dinner the other night about Owen Hart. You were on deck when that accident happened, right?
Yeah.
You want to tell us a little about that? That was a pretty trippy story.
Yeah, it is. It's especially in the pro wrestling world that especially WWF, everything there is a story and is a work. And sometimes when they start doing it, it's almost so real, like it seems real. And so when something does happen that is real, you don't know it's real because you can't literally put your finger on it, especially when Owen, when he fell. The issue with that was that Owen, when he was doing the practices, he had an amateur harness on, which means that they had to come up. We did house shows with it. The guy would crawl up into the ring, they'd undo it, and then he would start wrestling. Well, on the pay-per-view or the TV, he couldn't have somebody come in the ring and undo it, right? It had to be done without somebody coming in because you could see it. So he had this professional harness on where it had a button on it, where you'd hit the button, it'd release you, you hit the mat, start wrestling. So he gets up on the thing, and I don't know this is real or true or not, but from my understanding, they didn't practice it, like with the amateur harness. Since he'd already done it on house shows a bunch of times, they figured he'd just go down and he'd hit the button, he'd release himself. The problem is with the button was on his chest in the area where when he came off that rafter, he like normal, he would kind of start backwards and he would reach up and grab the harness like he would do normally. But the problem with that was that when he went to grab the harness, he hit the button and it released him and he fell from that height and he hit the pole and the ropes and stuff like that. So he was dead instantly. And so when that happened, we were all looking at it. And when you see something like that, you never see that before. You've never seen what that really looks like before. So when you see it for the first time, it doesn't look real. Like you just don't believe that is real. Because it was like almost like this rubber band and there was no stiffness and no resistance. It just looked like a doll. And I was sitting right there on deck looking at the camera when it happened. And it just, something didn't look like that's not right. And as he came out and they had him in the gurney and they were rolling him out, there was no blood. It was just a normal guy with his eyes closed. And it didn't look any different than he normally looked other than he was sleeping. And so when they were pulling him out and putting him in the ambulance, everybody's gunning around him and they're all worried, except for half of us were like, okay.
Is this real?
Yeah.
This is a work,
where's the
right?
gimmick, right? Like, when are you going to tell us? And so he goes away, and then they pull everybody aside the next night because everyone, including the fans, were like, dude, that was cool. Man, was that real? Of course, in their minds, they're knowing it's not real. They're like, man, that was intense. So next night, they pulled everybody together and said, hey, listen, we can either cancel the shows on the tour that we've got now and let everybody kind of get their footing, but Owen's dead. And, of course, we're all looking at each other going, okay, where's the punchline? But yet it never came. And so we ended up, everybody decided they were going to go ahead and do the show, and we're going to keep doing the show because that's what Owen would want. But even as we were doing the shows, we were all thinking there's no way they're putting a show on after Owen, this just happened. So it's got to be fake. It's not real. Like, they're going to come to us and because it's happened before where the boys don't know the angle. And but it never came. And so it started to settle in and really start becoming real probably 6 weeks, 8 weeks out when you didn't see anything from Owen and you saw the wife and saw the kids and you saw the family. It started to be intense and real. And so, yeah, it was a dark time. Owen was one of those kind of guys that everybody liked. Dan knows this because he spent some time with them. But he was a genuinely good guy in that I don't think there was anybody that thought badly of him.
And he was a ribber too.
Oh, he was fun. Yeah, he was fun. Yeah.
So you didn't know. You still didn't know 6 weeks out.
It's just, it was tough to really get your head wrapped around it and truly be all in with it. But, eventually that became a real thing. Even though I think after the funeral is when everybody realized, and that was a while after. So it was tough, right? Even after the funeral, nobody really knew, because it's like you see it, but it just doesn't look like that person's gone. It doesn't look real, like he's not dead, right? It just doesn't look like that.
Well, just like what you're saying there, Ken, you're saying that you say like the professional world, it's a very jaded world because you see things, and because you're around it so much, you're always looking for the working aspect of it, of the predetermined, I had heard that some people were waiting for Owen Hart simply to jump up and go ta-da, like that was all part of the act, but there was no act to it. So it does make you really wonder sometimes, was it real, or was it just part of a storyline that somehow is going to emerge later? But that's one of those aspects of that. It's a very jaded industry in a lot of different ways.
It is, because you don't know what real is and what even some truth, right? Like even truth, it just doesn't resonate with pro wrestling and the work aspect. Truth doesn't fit.
Yeah, like when Kurt Hennig passed away,
Yeah.
Well, you see some of the professional wrestlers that they live a storyline for so long, they soon forget where does fantasy end and reality begin. They literally start believing this crap that this creative team is coming up with, and maybe because they've taken way too many chair shots to the head, or that they literally start believing. That's what I noticed about that industry that really kind of took me back. That's for sure.
Well, it just becomes your reality after you live something for so long. It's just, that's who you are now. You can try to act like something, and eventually you are that.
That's part of getting over too. I mean, like you have to become that character, and there's a lot of guys that become the character that they take their work home with them. And that's the ones that are really irritating, because there's guys like myself or Dan Severn or Don Frye that we've done pro wrestling, and we go in there and we put somebody over, and it's really hard to watch them get on social media and start talking crap when you realize, dude, but it's a work, dude. Back up. Like, you don't got to just keep going with it, or otherwise I will show you reality.
Reality TV.
My poor mom, God bless her. She would, we'd get on a plane or somewhere, and she would always talking. Moms, they brag about you and all this, and then you meet this guy. Look, Mom, I was a dick to her. I said, Mom, I'm off the clock.
You just want to punch him in the mouth.
Yeah, I'm like, off the clock. I don't want to meet anybody. I don't want to do this. I'm tired of being with my family.
Yeah.
And when I'll go by somebody, a big star, and I won't get in their way, because I know that they might be with their family, and a lot of them are dicks, and they want to be with their family. So, you give them the time, the space. Otherwise, they say don't meet your heroes, because
right.
you'll be so disappointed, I mean, nothing, I don't believe that,
Yeah, it is, man. It's a tough spot too, because we sign up for for the idea, and we know what the idea is like, and we realize that the toughest guy is not going to win. It's most of the time, right? It's going to be more of a guy that has a creative ability to make things look real, or creative ability to be able to grab
make
a
money
mic.
make money for the company.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Or they're related to the owner.
Right. Yeah, that's a big plus. Yeah, right. Yeah. But we signed up for it and we understand it.
Yeah.
And going in there, that's why when I'm in there, I think it's important that when I go in there and I work with somebody, I want to have the best match possible. And whether it's me going over, him going over, it doesn't matter. Because the idea is that people are looking at your work and your body of work. And that's what's the most important in pro wrestling.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, it's all on tape, video now.
There's no getting away from it.
No, you don't want to leave a shit match out there for everybody to look at.
Yep.
It's like when you send a bad text and you're trying to delete it before.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
Trying to delete it before it sends.
Or better yet, you actually do a text about somebody who challenged you 2 or 3 years ago, and then you send that challenge back out to him, and he's dead. Oops. Yeah, not a bad one. You can't erase it fast enough. You're like, sorry, man, really, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
A 10-year-old daughter got the text and wants to kick your ass.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, seriously, it wasn't supposed to be like that.
So how's this bare knuckle boxing thing you guys are doing? How's that going?
They said we'd work into that.
Yeah.
I looked at my fist. And I'm like, I could do two things. I could hit Don with it, or I could ask Ken about the bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah, I don't know. That fist right there looks like a peanut.
Compared
to that,
Have you ever worked with your hands?
No, I never have. I made some tortillas yesterday, but
yeah, I don't know. Valor's been doing real well. I mean, we had to stop because of COVID. I love fans. I love fans to be in the audience, and so it just kind of, even when I was wrestling, it just didn't feel right. And so we've kind of built our Valor more in the social media since COVID had hit, trying to build our platforms and our advertisements and things of that nature, and even trying to change the way we went at our first show. Even though it was a hit, there was things that we could improve on. So we did. We spent a lot of time on trying to improve Valor instead of trying to just force shows to be put on. And so now we're in a position now where we can literally start going out and actually finding venues to start putting these shows on. And we have a platform that we're going to use where we're going to start out with the one event and then the next event and then the next event. And each event is going to build up to the main event. So, we're pretty excited about that and moving forward. So we'll just wait and see what happens. People look out for it, valorbk.com. You can find all the information out on that. And we're probably within 6 months, we'll be having our first event.
Oh, is it real bare knuckle fighting?
Oh, it's straight bare knuckle. I don't like this bare knuckle and they tape their hands. It's like, that's not bare knuckle.
Right.
Yeah, that's a whole concept of bare knuckle.
Is it learning how to throw a punch without breaking your hand?
Right.
I mean, there's a lot more to it than just punching somebody. You can't go in there and try for the knockout because you might not get it and your hand's broke and then he's still standing, or he beats the count.
Yep.
And then now you're stuck there with a broken hand.
Your hand's swollen up the size of a glove.
Yeah. You got to finish the fight.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys catch that?
What?
He was given the dates. He's writing it down. Mr. Severn's writing it down. I think he wants to be at the tryouts. What do you think, Dan?
Well, he wrote down the date.
No. Okay. No, my question was going to be when it comes to the Valor BK. Shoot! Now I lost my thought. I was writing down my next question right there because as you're coming up with the Valor BK. And now you put me on the spot there, Mr. Frye. So,
way to go. Me is him.
It looked like you wanted in on that bare knuckle.
I better just sit back here and look pretty now, huh?
Oh, Don, the door was left open. Brother.
Come on, man.
That was
Wake up
easy.
over there.
That was too easy.
Low-hanging fruit.
Let it go. Yeah. Let Hillary there just slide away.
Ouch.
So all right. So what are the rules, anyways?
What we tried to do is because boxing, I love boxing, and I always have. I love footwork. I love the fight, especially with Sugar Ray Leonard, Duran, Hagler, all them. I love the intensity.
Amazing fights.
Oh,
those are
so much
amazing.
different than now, right? It's just different. But I love that type of boxing, and so with the Valor BK, we wanted to try to bring in a clean bare knuckle fight. Whereas that, now they've got not Valor bare knuckle, but they got other bare knuckle leagues that are out there doing these fights, but they're allowing them to grab and clinch and punch and dirty box. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that if we want to have guys go in there and actually fight the way you're supposed to fight, then you can't have, especially when it's true bare knuckle, you can't have guys grabbing, because then you got problems with eye poking and eye gouging because you don't have gloves on your hand. And so therefore your fingers can get stuck in someone's eye. To me, by keeping guys fighting with their hands closed, so when you get into a clinch, you can't grab. So there's no, like in the regular box where you get guys can kind of hook you with a glove or this and that, and you can get into a clinch. It's like with us, it's just straight bare knuckle boxing. Whereas literally when you get in there, we're just taking the gloves off and it's going to be boxing rules. So we like that, except for there's no clinching. You cannot, when you do get into a clinch, when you get in close, you can't grab. You got to punch out of it. So I think that the fights are faster that way, where they can't grab and hold and clinch.
Well, yeah, because you can't hold your way out of a knockout.
That's right.
That's part of the game too, though.
Yeah, but
when you
but
get
with
wobbled,
no hand, with no gloves on. Yeah, but with no gloves on, if you hurt somebody, they can literally tie you up like a wrestling tie-up.
Right.
So it takes away that purity of boxing and being able to get a knockout, because someone, if they do get hurt, they'll grab you and they hold you and they got no gloves on, which they can hold you till they literally get back their senses. And so that's why we wanted that taken out, where there's no clinching. If you get inside, you got to be punching your way out. And if you get hurt, you can't grab them.
So Ken, you got any big names crossing over from MMA into the bare knuckle scene? Anybody we might know?
Yeah, you got Mark Godbeer. He did a little MMA. He actually won the tournament. Mick Sweeney, he ended up getting knocked out by LeVar, who was another MMA fighter. And then Mo, he fought in it. He made it to the finals and lost to Godbeer, Mighty Mo.
Mo the Wall?
Yeah. So we had a lot of guys come in.
I saw your interview with him on that like Sports Center or whatever. I don't remember what it was. Do you remember what that was?
It was Boss Rutan's show.
Oh man, that was prime. If you get a chance to go look at that, that was
I beat that poor kid up verbally.
verbally assaulted him, man. It was bad.
Yeah.
That's good.
I guess he tells the guy, that was working with me at the time. He says, "Man, I've never been beat up like that. Usually I come back, but he just tore me apart."
Oh, it was one right after the other. Ken, you gotta check out that clip.
He was on, huh?
Yeah, it was on.
Yeah, I had a good day.
Yeah. It took 35 years, but man,
every once in a while, one slips in there.
Yeah, it's like a clips.
That's his clip that he's going to send to everybody. Hey, here's my footage. Here's my reel.
My highlight reel.
All right.
It's a slow day. I'm usually spot on,
All right. Yeah, well, that's one thing. You had to gift the gab, man. Gift the gab.
Oh, shit. Sometimes that gets me in trouble.
But it wouldn't matter. If it didn't get you in trouble, it wouldn't be worth anything.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we waiting for Dan Severn to pop in
No,
there?
there's Dan Severn saying he's number one.
Yeah, it's just
Oh, I thought he was cleaning a booger off of his finger.
No? Okay. I did do that, Don. I did do that. Okay. All right. Yeah, flicking it off. Okay. So anyway, Ken, I know that you've actually have dabbled in stem cells. I've dabbled in stem cells a little bit myself. I like to talk about what you feel about stem cells and what they have done for you, sharing your story there to what kind of problems you might have had before, why you wanted to go into stem cells, and what have they done for you since?
Yeah, it's I was a few years, 4, 5, 6 years back. I was having a lot of issues with shoulders, knees, back, and even before that, it was just a gradual buildup of injuries and things that I'd gone through in my career, and just got me into a point to where I hadn't trained for almost a year and a half. I was depressed. I didn't look good. I didn't feel good. And I was just looking at myself, and I just felt ugly in the mirror. I didn't like it. I mean, just like, who am I? Like, all these things happening. And so I just got to a point where I said,
people did an intervention for you then, huh?
Well, it was, it's really more about me, right? It was more about when I was in that position. It was like, what are you going to do? Like what my dad told me is like, nobody's going to do this shit for you. Nobody's going to do anything for you. And I'm sitting here feeling bad for myself.
Now wait, Ken, that's getting to where you're taking control of your own destiny, and you're not relying on the government.
Right, that's a no-no, right?
Are you sending your stimulus check back?
Yeah,
that's what I want to know.
I never got one. Yeah, and I ain't begging for it either. To me, I take that, and I just basically gave my rights over to him.
Basically,
yeah. But no, it was more about just going through a process, constantly getting worse, constantly not being able to do what I want to do, be the person I want to be. And I remember I was at a show one time, and this guy came up to me and started talking about these stem cells. And I was like, I never heard of it, And so he's talking about how good they are and how they do this. And I mean, we hear this a million times from people.
Somebody's always got something.
Right? It's a miracle drug. Yeah, I've heard this before.
Right.
So I just he handed me some stuff, and he says, no, so he literally pestered me. He'd call me. He would get in contact with me. And then I saw him on my phone one time. He sent me footage of guys that had done the stem cells, and one of them was Matt Hughes. And, I mean, you know what Matt Hughes' story is. He got hit by a train in his truck going to training. I mean, he was messed up. He was in a wheelchair. He was hardly moving around. I watched this transformation happen on film, and Matt is not a kind of guy that's going to lie to you. He would kind of like you. He's just going to tell you the truth. And so I remember watching this thing. As I'm watching this transformation, I see all the procedures they're doing. They're doing this story with them. And he's literally, you see him gradually over process on this footage they were doing, get up and walk out of his wheelchair. He goes down there, walks out of this facility. And of course, it was a process of time. And walks out of this thing. And I'm like, okay, that guy's legit. So, and I remember I called him and I talked to him and said, man, is that real? And then it was, of course, yeah, it was. And I'm like, okay. So then this dude, I ended up calling this guy, and I go, hey, yeah, I'm interested. What's the deal? So he's like, hey, you'll do this, do that, and do this. You go down there, and we'll put you in this thing, and we'll take care of you. Everything will be great. And of course, metadone. You think of metadone, you think of Colombia, you think of drugs and violence and gangsters.
Somebody says, we'll take care of you.
Yeah, right. So you're like, am I coming home? Right. So. He's like, no, dude, it's different. Metadone's changed, they're trying to clean it up. It's very professional. And yeah, okay. So I was like, okay, so they fly me out there. I get down to go into this facility. They put me through this process of these different videos and different things on how they're going to do these certain things, what to expect when you're coming out because you go into surgery, and then what they're doing and what they're putting into your body. And of course, I don't have the understanding of what they're doing. They're telling me, but I don't have the understanding of it. So I'll say, okay. So then the next day we go in, they start taking my blood. They get all this blood out there. They take it for I think it's 48 hours. Yeah. They do whatever they do to it. Right. I go back in, and then they do the procedure, things that they already warned me of. Well, we're going to do it. And the hotel is connected to the mall. The mall is connected to the hospital, so you never have to go outside. So I go to this thing, and they do this procedures. They videotape all. I don't get to see it, but I saw it later on. And they inject all these things right into my different areas in my joints. And
so they're not cutting you open. They're just
needle.
Injecting.
Yeah, it's trigger point, right? It's just literally trigger point, and they're literally filling your joints up with this stem cells, and that's supposed to help rejuvenate and almost build your cartilages and different things back again. And of course, this all sounds really, really weird. So it's like, Matt said it worked. I got to believe him, man. And so I get the procedure done. I wake up the next morning. I can't put my clothes on. I mean, I am literally just sore and stiff. But there's one thing I did notice is that all the areas in my body where I was the inflammation, middle of my back, just all the irritations was gone. I mean, I literally didn't feel it, but I ached in all of my joints where they had actually done the trigger point.
Yeah.
Now, I was like, man, I hope this doesn't stay with me. It's like it's worse than what I felt like before with all the soreness.
It was a big fucking needle.
Yeah. So they end up taking me back in, and they hooked me up with these IV bags. They put a bunch of bags in me that also got stem cells in them. And it goes into my body, and it starts to break up. It's supposed to help break up all the irritation in your body. I get on a plane. I fly home. 2 months later, I'm doing a video that says I'm coming back to wrestling. I mean, that's how fast it was. I literally went over to Australia and did a year to 2 years over there doing pro wrestling, suicide dives, hurricanranas, stuff that I could not do, not even attempt to do, let alone work out. And that's literally right from that point in time, I started my journey down the road. And each and every single month to this day, I feel like I'm getting better. This stuff I've always said, BioAccelerator is the only place that I believe that will give you what you need to be able to physically recover from your injuries as an athlete. The stuff that we go through, not the normal guys that go in and get it done, has got a little injury here and a little injury there. Guys that are severely beat up. This is the ticket, man, and I am not blowing smoke, man. This is the real deal. I guarantee anybody that goes there will come out feeling better than they did before. Much, much better.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. That's like, and you, what were your limitations before you went there?
I couldn't. I'm 35. I mean, I was doing. I benched. I was benching 600 pounds along with dumbbells that were like, 150-pound dumbbells. I was benching at one time. That's when I was stronger, right? Now I'm actually benching 120s. Before that, I was only doing 35s. And barely, because it just hurts so much. I mean, and that's why I literally stopped working out. It was like I felt like I couldn't do it. You go in the gym and you feel even worse coming out because you can't lift. It messes your ego up because you're like used to lifting so much weight that now you can't even lift your arms.
Yeah, now you're doing the yoga.
Right, yeah.
And that hurts to do yoga.
It just tears you down.
Your yoga mat.
Hey, can you grab my mat for me?
Yeah, your tights and your yoga mat. Like, oh, I'm changing directions. Yeah, but it was a real deal, man. And like I said, until you do it, you just don't know, man. And I can tell you all as much. It's the same thing that I'm saying that people have said to me 100 times. I just don't get it. I don't believe it, right? Until you actually do it. That's when you get it.
So when when you got there, how long was the process? 2 days?
A week.
A week.
A week, yeah. Yep. 1 week. And then after that, it's constantly always rejuvenating. It doesn't stop. It constantly keeps rejuvenating and keeps rebuilding all the things you had.
So you go back, or you're just saying inside your body it's rejuvenating?
My body's rejuvenating. I don't know when it stops because it hasn't stopped now, and it's been 6 years, I think.
Yeah.
So it's constant.
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
it is. To me, when I look at it, people talk about a miracle drug or a fountain of youth. That's it.
Yeah.
So Dan had some stuff done with stem cells also on his knees with really good results, right? Wake up,
but they're just localized shots. So not like the big IV process that Ken went through, but no, I had some real scary times that were happening. I kept thinking that this is it. Life is going to come to a really screeching halt, but it literally, the stem cell shots gave me my life back to where I'm back on the mats and I'm teaching and doing what I enjoy doing. So I'm really happy about that. Especially, makes me wonder if I was to do the actual IV portion, how much more would that give me? I mean, it's the inevitability. I don't think you can turn back the entire clock of time because father time is going to win out no matter what. But if it can give you a much more quality of life,
you went to grade
I'm
school.
more for
you
that.
went to grade school of father time. You went to grade school of father time. And you're both kicking.
No mercy.
So anyway, since we're done with the PETA gallery over there.
The company is
Well, go ahead, Mr. Frye. Sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Frye.
You're interrupting me, kid. BioAccelerator.
Yeah, it's BioAccelerator, and it's out of Medellin, Colombia. When you do it here in the States, I'm not putting it down because it obviously worked for Dan. But when we're talking about some extreme, like necks, backs.
High-level athletes.
I didn't say that. I tell you, yeah, no.
Rich, you're starting to fire there, Rich.
Yeah, no, it's more about I think the more of the extreme kind of injuries, and not just the extreme, but multiple. I mean, like you've got 7 things like that just are going on. And I think that when you go in in the U.S., there's just a certain level of these cells that they will give you. And if you have a lot of things that are going on, they're not going to give you what you need in one treatment. They may give it to you in 7 or 8 treatments, but that's a lot of time to spend in a hospital.
Right.
Whereas you go in one time here, they're going to give you everything for everything in your body that you need in that one treatment.
It's easier to get babies in Medellin too. So, no, this is your own stem cells. Never mind.
Yeah,
different conversation.
That's one conversation I did have when they actually came to me about doing these stem cells, was that because obviously I knew nothing about it. So when I started doing the research, there was this, abortions and aborting babies, and I was like, whoa, and then so I went and said, hey, dude, I'm not going to support that. He goes, no, we do it from the umbilical cord. We don't do anything with the babies or anything. It all comes from the umbilical cord. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And the placenta. Yeah.
So you get to eat the placenta,
yeah.
Like
let me tell you what, if it did what it did for me, I'd eat it.
Yeah. Speaking of eating placentas, what was the name of the company you worked with?
Yeah. Oh.
We're giving you a chance to spot this.
He didn't put his finger up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did you work with, Dan?
Well, it was actually just two different companies right there in Arizona. So I was really happy it was right there in Arizona where I used these companies, and two different types of companies. The second company was more in tune as to what Ken was talking about. Utilizing the umbilical cord and the placenta. So the first company was more of an artificial type of stem cell application. I still had great results on my knees, but it didn't really bounce back my hip the way I thought it would. And so I ended up going for some additional shots, and that has made a world of difference.
So you don't want to give the name?
But I can't. Again, I can't think of the one company has gone out of business here right now. But I will. If, as people are watching this, they can just get in contact with Don and Frye's Toxic Masculinity, and we can fill those questions that afterwards. But that way we get some people kind of moving. But I am going to. You guys were bad mouthing yoga there. Now I'm going to talk to Diamond Dallas Page, and I think he'll have something different to say about because he teaches yoga for men.
Is there a thing? Is that a thing
for men?
For men,
real men,
or people identifying as men?
Yes, actually, Diamond Dallas Page does. Yeah, like I say, Diamond Dallas Page does have a program called DDP Yoga, and it's yoga for men. And he actually has taken a couple people underneath his wing that probably would not be here today, and they've helped turn their world around for him.
So the next thing we're going to do is called Masculinity
one of those good guys there that has
Yoga.
done some wonderful things.
Toxic Masculinity.
Masculinity Yoga.
You got to wear your old PE coach's tight shorts.
I don't know if the world is ready yet to see Don Frye in a pair of leotards.
I'll just put on a singlet, with a t-shirt underneath of it, and a weight belt.
Old Vision Quest.
Wrestling shoes.
Yeah.
We'll leave the headgear off, though.
So what's the name of the place you went to in Medellin?
Bioaccelerator.
Bioaccelerator.
Yeah.
They have a website, you think?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. You can look it up. Bioaccelerator. And there's representatives here in the U.S. Actually, there's one here right in Arizona. In fact, as we had contacted him, I believe it was today or last night, we had talked to him, and so he was actually going to meet with Don, except for he had some family issues, and he apologized for not being able to make it, but he's definitely would love to be able to meet with you. So.
Get some more interesting customers, huh?
Yeah, right.
more qualified.
Oh boy, does he has no idea what he's coming.
Poor guy.
They got the hospital, the mall, the hotel, the morgue. The cemetery and the jail.
That's for the thing when they don't work out so well.
You just keep you shuffling. If you make it all the way down the end, you're still fine.
You got to sign a waiver when you go in there. It could cause death.
Hey man, but sometimes that might not be too bad.
Some days you wake up and you're ready.
Oh yeah,
you're like looking for the
Lord,
light.
take me now.
Where's that light I'm supposed to be walking towards?
It's got to be better than this.
Well,
yeah, no,
man,
I was there.
I've woken up like that bad, and just like, fuck this, I'm done,
Yep, been there, man.
Tired of this nonsense.
Yeah, just before I got that, man, that's exactly how I felt. I just felt so, just like, really, this is it? Like, and man, it just was a perfect timing.
This is not the way I want to go out.
No, man. I mean,
I sell out stadiums and arenas, and now I can't even make it to the pisser enough.
Yeah, you're just like, dude, man, don't make me live this long. Take me now. If this is the way it is, just do it now.
Yeah. So, it only goes downhill from here. Huh?
Yeah, well, that's what they, get around 60 years old, man. It's like people say, it's just starting out life. No, brother, we're going down the other side. Yeah. It's just slowing it down and enjoying it.
Yeah, well, one of the times they did.
Hey, Ken, have they given you any idea as to they've had other people that they've gone through this program so far? What's their feedback been as to how long will this continue to do good for your body, or does it just last a certain time period, or does it help just rejuvenate and then you're still going to go so long and then teeter off? I mean, I just elaborate a little bit more if you can. I'm interested in this aspect.
Yeah, what it does is it helps rejuvenate all the damage in the torn tissues and muscles and different things in there. It's supposed to actually rejuvenate that. And when it rejuvenates, it doesn't deteriorate and go away. Obviously, though, as you continue to keep living, it's obviously going to keep deteriorating. But what it does is that it actually builds it up to where you're at your point where you're normal. And then, of course, as time goes on, just like with anything in life, it's going to go away sooner or later. But it's not like you lose the effect of the bioaccelerator. You don't lose the effect. It's already built. It takes, it's been about, 6 years now or something like that. And I feel like I'm constantly still getting better. And I'm sure that there's going to be a time, because 56, 57 years old now, just like with any age, you're going to start regressing. 57. Jeez. Yes, it's going to regress. There's no question we're going to regress. But I'm having a better quality of life now because I got it done. And that's the thing. And if I want to go back in and do it again as I get older and I start maybe going back, and I haven't to this point, but if I start going back into that point where I was at, where I can't get up and I don't feel good and I can't work out, I can go back and get it done again. And it will help me live better even from that point on. Each time I can still go get it done to make me feel better. All I'm saying is it just doesn't disappear when you get it done. It's not like a drug where it wears off and then all of a sudden you still have these injuries. It's not like that. It's literally like it regrows and rebuilds the things that you've damaged.
Yeah, and those things aren't going to go away, right? Rebuild cartilage. It's not going to go away.
It's not going to. Yeah, it's not going to melt
2
away.
Years,
Yeah. Yeah, but as we get older, those things are going to, it's just nature. That's just the way it is. We deteriorate.
Cells split, all that good stuff continuously.
Yep. Yeah, and that's where we come in with if you want to get even more extreme, you come in with the hormonal medicines, because our testosterone's and our growth hormone in our own bodies.
Yeah, quit.
deteriorates, right?
Quit a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, you got to go in and to doctors, and they literally prescribe you things to be able to enhance your hormonal, which is your testosterone and your growth hormones in your own body to be at a normal level. If you're at your age, whatever your age is, just so that they're even and at an even keel, so you're not being depressed and you're not feeling ucky. It keeps everything balanced. So that's just another part of being healthy, is being able to use that age management type living along with the bioaccelerators, the stem cells, which is really is taking 20 years off your life so that you're literally 20 years younger.
That'll put you, what, at 50? I'm not good at math, but 50, right?
It's better than 70 if you're at 70.
Yeah, right.
Right?
I remember one of the times I went in for my back, the doctor said, these backs are just designed for 70 years of life, He said, and you got a 85-year-old woman's back.
Tore it up. Yeah. And I started 17 when I tore mine up. 17 years old, I tore my neck up, and and from that point on, I've always been this way. I think fitness is very important to having quality of life, and so I've always done that. And a lot of people, when they look at me, I've always been accused of certain things. But the one thing I can tell you is I have never abused anything. I always have been under a doctor's care, have always done it the right way. And that's why I'm able to still look the way I look, train the way I train now, and still stay healthy.
I saw you abuse some ribs last night, Ken.
Yeah, I admit I was guilty on that.
But there was a doctor in the house, so,
Dr. Don.
Dr. Don.
With the skulls.
You missed a good meal last night.
Dr. Quinn Medicine.
Dan missed a good meal last night.
Yeah.
But apparently he was afraid of coming down to Tucson.
Well, he's living high and mighty over in Coldwater. Or where are you hiding at now? Where are you hiding out at?
I'm in Coldwater, Michigan today.
Wow, look at you, living large.
Coldwater, Michigan, my friend.
Is that the mayor's office you're in?
Yeah. Well, here let's talk politics for a moment. How's that?
Okay.
I'm gonna excuse myself.
Let's change up the topic for a moment. Let's move away from the fighting world. Let's move away from stem cells. Let's talk about politics for a moment here, especially in today's current state of affairs, like what has happened here in the United States. How people have to be so PC. We have to watch what we say. Anything that comes out of your mouth can be either racial or profiling or bias or politically incorrect. We're now being told that we should allow our children to declare their own sexuality. Now we have men that can identify as being a woman, and they're now competing into women's sports. What do you think about some of this craziness, Ken, that's happening in our world today?
Yeah, well, I can honestly say that I don't think it's fair for.
Well, you have a chance at a comeback now.
I'm not going there. I just think it's unfair that you can say that a man who has all the physical abilities of a man to be able to compete in a woman's event. To me, I think that is wrong. You're taking away a woman's dream who has worked her whole life to compete in the Olympics and take a gold medal, and then allow a man to step in and actually take that from him.
That's a change. You know that? Because I've worked my whole life for my dreams, and I had to take it all away by a woman. So, I think it's fair and square. Fair and square.
Yeah, I see where Don's coming from. Yep. I'll take the high road on that.
I got no pity for
none. That. Yeah, like I said, it's just hard to know what it took, especially with what I know about sports, with what I know about competing and reaching that level of being great, and then have it snatched away from you from something that shouldn't be there. That's just the way I feel.
I agree 100%, but like you said, we're
unless it's a divorce
for different reasons.
Yeah, unless it's a divorce.
we're all getting our dreams and, you know, our future and our past and our present. It's all getting snatched away from us one way or another, you know. And it's insane. It's not no right or wrong. It's not fair. It's fucking insane is what the deal is.
Yeah, and if you try to speak up for what's right, you're racist.
Right.
So,
because that's their argument.
Yeah.
They have no legitimate argument, so they've got to go to that, you know.
And the ones that are usually saying that are the ones that are actually racist.
Right. They're throwing the stones. Yeah.
Yep. It's a conversation that there's no way you can win it. You just can't win it.
That's how it's designed. Yeah.
Yep. And until, you know, we have somebody that has some power or at least some position in the government to start supporting the people that literally understand what is right and the rights of those, we're banging our heads against the wall. And until we can get somebody out there in the White House or in that position to be able to allow people to be able to speak their minds, then it's basically just beating your head against the wall until that happens.
The culture's already been built. It's already been built. So if somebody says my son is 4 years old and he's gay, we know he's gay and it's okay. We want to leave. And if I stand up as a man and say, how the hell do you know? Does he know he's gay? He doesn't even know what the hell sex is. You know, how the hell? And now I'm toxic to masculinity. You know what I mean? Now I'm the bad guy because, you know, I don't know. Just it's ridiculous. It's just
well,
you can't say anything nowadays without, you know, somebody getting offended.
Right.
Yeah, it's, you know, I had an issue where I was going through the airport and, you know, I'm all about treating people how they want to be treated. You know, if you feel like you're a woman and you want to be treated that way, even though you're a man, I got no problem with that, right? I got no problem with that. That's what you want, fine. But on the other hand, on the flip side of that, then you need to make sure that I'm able to treat you that way. Because if you're actually put in a position to where this person that literally considers himself a woman is now working at a TSA security department and is searching men. How do I get the opportunity to treat you the way you want to be treated if you want to be that woman, but now you're actually searching me? And I'm supposed to say, well, hold up. Now, you want to be treated a certain way, but now you're putting your hands on me because now you're in a position of power, and I have no right to say, wait a minute, I don't want this person doing that because this person wants me to treat them as a woman. But if I speak that, then now all
You're
of a sudden
homophobic.
I'm a homophobic. And I'm like, well,
you're
hold
not
up.
getting on an airplane.
Right.
You're going to that little room and you're going to get searched properly.
Right. And it's not like I don't want, because if that's what they want, fine. I got no problem. That's their world. But then why put me in that position to where now all of a sudden you're saying you're a woman, you want to be treated as a woman, but now you're being hired as a man to search other men while they're going through the airport. And to me, that's like a very contradicting position because we're being told that no, if they feel like they want to identify as a woman, then you must treat them as that. No problem. But then don't put them in a position of a man.
Where does it end? Does it end with the guy, say a PE coach, starts to identify as a woman? Now he's handing out towels in the women's locker room because he identifies as a woman. Is that going to go over?
Right. That's where I have the hard time. Whereas you're being asked to do something which you're okay with doing because if that's what they want, it affects me none. So if that's how you want to be, fine. But then don't confuse me. Don't put me in a position where now I don't understand what you want, how you want me to treat you now.
Yeah, don't ask me to dinner.
Right. So it's very, very confusing for a lot of us where we're okay with however this is happening, but then you're actually doing something else that isn't lining up with what you're asking us to do.
Right.
What do you think, Dan?
Well, no, again, spot on. It's to me, it's like you're either a man or you're a woman. It's to me there really isn't too many fuzzy lines. You might if you want to identify, well, just like what Ken said, I could care less if you want to do naked cartwheels. Just do them in your backyard. Don't do them in the front yard. I don't want to watch you doing your naked cartwheels. So it's
don't do it in the airport.
Most people that is why that is why most people want to come to the United States, because we are the land of freedom. We have so many rights here that if you were to do and or say some of the things that we're just talking about right now, but you were to do that in some of these other countries, well, you would either be shoved off to the gulag, or they will take you out back somewhere and either behead you or whatever. So it's a lot of people want to come here. And because you know that you can have the Rainbow Coalition can march right on the United States. You can have anyone that can march on the United States and have their rights be heard. We allow people, we allow even stupid people to say stupid things, point blank. Because
we're all here doing it.
Yeah, but yet, yes, we are. And we're allowed to air. But see, a lot of people would be like, oh my gosh, that's taboo what they're talking about here. That's taboo what they're talking about there. No, we're at least we're strong enough men in our convictions to simply bring it out in the open. Those people that are scared to even talk about it, that's the worst kind.
Yeah.
I think if you have an opinion, bring your opinion forth. You got these people that they want to vote in secrecy or whatever. Have a little bit more backbone, and that's what we lack in this country is backbone and balls.
Yeah, and to speak on that too, when you think about that, though, I also have an understanding, right? I also have an understanding of some of the pressure that some of these people go through. They could lose everything. I mean, they lose everything. Some of these people that are dependent on fan base, if they come out and start talking about different things on their platforms, Twitter will go in and Facebook will go in and cancel them. They will cancel them. So everything that they've done up to that point, with all the things they built up and all the things they've done, because they come out and they have an opinion on something, then they get completely canceled. That's their whole income. A lot of these guys are making $100,000, $200,000 a year, and they're going to be taken off the platform and they're going to be canceled.
I think we're having a senior moment here.
Not sure what just happened.
I don't know, but maybe we pissed them off, with the old guy stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe they just they didn't like what we were talking about, and
just going to step off like
the estrogen level in their body was too high, and did somebody say everyone with a big ass mustache walk out of the room?
Did I miss anything?
Yeah, you and your buddy got up at the same time and walked out of the room.
I know that Don Frye went off in one direction. Well, no, I'll let you know. Okay, I'm actually back here. I'm back here in Coldwater, Michigan. I'm actually inside my office of my training room, and my son-in-law and my daughter and two of my grandsons just stopped by, and they're inside the training facility so that they can. It's sort of referred to as the insane asylum. It's padded walls, padded flooring, so they can go in there and they can go crazy, and they're not going to get hurt.
There you go.
And they also have a blow up house, bouncy house that they can jump into and have a lot of fun. So it's Ken, how many grandchildren do you have nowadays?
15 grandchildren.
15? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of me. What's youngest to oldest?
Yeah, my oldest is in college right now. She's 19. The youngest was just born February 18th.
Oh wow, yeah, you got quite the gauntlet. Yeah, so mine are all in the very young ages here. So I just I try to tell kids just to wait a little bit. on marriage and that, because too many people, I think it's sort of ingrained in a lot of ways that kids should, out of college and they start looking to get married. I'm thinking, no, live your life for a little bit, travel, do some things, and then if you want to get settled down, do it then. It's I think that we tend to lead people to think that they have to do things by a certain age, think a certain way, do a certain things, and it's completely wrong.
Right.
Like, for example, going to college. I don't think kids should go to college right out of high school because they know no difference from what they've been doing all along, except that mom and dad are no longer around. So now you get a lot of young people, they get in trouble because they start partying and they flunk out of college and they have all these bills and stuff like that. Whereas if for 1 or 2 years, if they would have either gone into the military, which I'm a big advocate of, go into the military or simply go to work. And you realize, I hate my boss. I hate my job. So now when I go to college, I will really apply myself in a much more productive manner. And you'll probably get out of there a lot more quicker to where, and you'll have a lot more goal orientation as to what you really want to do with life, where most 18-year-olds going to college, they don't have a clue.
No, I changed my major every semester for the first 4 years.
Yeah.
Like 6 years of college, shut the hell down. No, I think Dan's right. You've got to get a chance to get out there in the real world and see what life is like working for a living. Man, it sucks. I mean, just working for the summer, construction in the summer, what have you, is completely different than doing it for real because you're still living with mom and dad. Right. They're still paying your bills. You're not getting a real outlook on the real life.
Yeah, you get to spend your money on whatever you want.
Yeah,
Go buy some new shoes, go do this, not pay your bills and stuff, and use your whole check just to survive. Yeah. So it's a fake.
You played Marine for a couple of years, right?
Yeah. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, that was my one regret. I didn't go in the military. I wish I would have.
I did. Yeah. I was in the Marines. Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Semper Fi. I didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah. 89. So it was at 88, 89. Yep. Did the 3 months. Story behind it. I broke my neck. I broke my neck.
Yeah.
And when I signed up, the recruiter said, "Don't tell him."
Right.
I didn't tell him. Even though they shaved my head and there was holes in my head from the halo I had on. And I got, it was like 2 weeks prior to, because I went to the San Diego one, boot camp.
MCRD San Diego.
Yeah.
You're a Hollywood
Mount Motherfucker, right?
Of course.
Yes, right. So that's where we were at. And the firing range and all that stuff. And I was platoon. You know how they were changing them all the time, right? The minute I got as a platoon leader, where my bed was in the front, and you had the barracks and where the officers were in the front. Yeah, I was in that the whole time, right? Most of the time they changed me in that all the time, but I was in it the whole time, and I had this PT score that was through the roof. I mean, I was really physically gifted, and I was going through it, killing it. And 2 weeks prior to all this happening, there was this. Wasn't the senior drill instructor, but it was one of the assistant drill instructors, pulled me in the office in front of the whole people where you can look into the window. Yeah. And so I was in there, and I was sitting down at the desk, and this guy standing up was a tall dude. And he said, "Hey, your grandfather died." And he was in the Air Force, right? And so he passed away. And so I got teary-eyed. And so he slams his hand down on the desk and says, "What are you crying for? We're no crying." It just started getting really hyper, and because I got into that moment, I literally flipped the desk over and I attacked him, and
that shortened your career.
Put a beating on him, right? So, and at that time I was about 215, 217, and I was shredded because I was through that boot camp. I was in good shape. and I just beat him down. So then they put me into this group where all these people that were jumping the fence trying to get to the airport. I'm in with all these losers, and my senior comes in, and so he goes in front, this is how it works. The Marines are not in charge. It's the Navy, the sick bay. And so they go in front of the sick bay to try to get me released because I wanted back in. I mean, why wouldn't I? I was in charge of everything. I mean, and they wouldn't. The risk of allowing me to complete with the knowledge of me having a broken neck was too, in their opinion, the Navy was too risky, because if I got hurt, they would have to pay me for the rest of my life if I re-injured that, and they knew that I had that injury. So I didn't get a dishonorable. I got an honorable discharge from there, but this was when I was 20 years old, because I've already played college ball. I'd done my college ball and gotten through that and didn't know what to do. So I went ahead and my dad was completely against it because he thought I'd be a killer, And so when I got through there 2 weeks before graduation, beat up one of the drill instructors because he just caught me at a wrong time, and I ended up just thumping him, and then put me into that, and then tried to get out. My senior went to bat for me, but the sick bay said no. The Navy doctors said no. So that was my extent into the military. But from that point on, after I started fighting and becoming a star, I started doing I trained their MCMAT program, the Marine Corps Martial Arts program. I changed that program in Quantico.
Nice.
I literally went down there and changed their whole program, went down there, went through the training, taught all the guys stuff, and changed their program. And years and years before that, I got kicked out for beating up a drill instructor. So, but I had a long career after my fighting, and even only, a couple weeks ago, we just got back from Fort Polk, where we trained the Army, and had a great session. I trained 5 different companies.
That's funny. If they could see you now,
right? Exactly. See what you missed out on, right? And it was something I really enjoyed, because it was kind of like fighting, right? Where there was a team and a camaraderie, and you were all in it together. And that's literally what the military made me feel like. And that's something I always gravitate towards, is being around people and groups of people that literally have the same kind of ideas and concepts, and bonding together and got each other's back. Yeah.
I was a truancy officer at the same junior high that I ditched every day for my whole 8th grade year.
Right.
What do you think about that, assistant? I mean, he's a teacher. He's a
sidekick.
He's a teacher.
A teacher's aide.
No. Dan's,
Professor.
He's a Professor Dan. What do you think about my truancy story there?
Well, rather sad there.
Making some big notes. Big notes.
Here, I've got some tissue for you if you want some. Okay, yeah.
Oh, you have all the toilet paper.
Boy, let's people.
Of course. What you think? Think he hangs out in Coldwater, Michigan for the donuts?
Yeah. Don't be crying when the next crisis takes place. You see, we know who holds all the goods.
That makes me want to blow my nose.
He's going into the bathroom, wrapping around his waist.
Any other projects you did? Ken, what other projects do you have coming up? I mean, other than Valor Boxing here right now, are there any other projects that you have in the works? I know you've written at least 2 or 3 books.
Yeah, 3 books.
Tell us about the books, and if you have, what other projects you have coming up?
Yeah, we got 3 books out. One was done the earlier Lion's Den, and then another one kind of later in the Lion's Den, and then the one that was most recently put out. It was written, and the thing with the last one that was just done, was that I'm not a part of that book, and the only reason why I wasn't a part of that book was because I felt like, because he had actually written the book and then released it before I got a chance to proofread it, which was just didn't make sense. Yeah. Everything in there is real. Like, I'm not denying any of that stuff that happened, because I'm transparent. I know what I did, but when you read it, it looks like that everything happened while I was fighting Dan and while I was fighting you and while I was fighting all these people, that I was just partying, and that the Lions Den was all about partying and no training. And that, to me, it felt like that, no question, but that's just not the real story. The real story is that there were times that we trained hard. And then there were times where I had issues in my life where I went out and I just was irresponsible and did stupid things, and things that had happened in my family. So all these things, the stories in there are all true, except for they were put in the wrong places. Like, they just looked like they were all run together, and like it was just from the beginning to the end, it was one big party. And if you know the accomplishments that I had in fighting, I don't think anybody's able to accomplish what I accomplished doing what they seem to think I did the whole time. It's just not possible. And so that's the only reason why I didn't step in and really support the book. Not because it wasn't true, but because I believe that the timing and that when the things happened were not very clear, and when they happened, how they happened.
Yeah, you should let you proofread it. You know,
Right.
It's my book.
Right. Yeah. So I kind of stepped away from it because Jonathan Snowden is a great writer. I mean, and he did a great job on the book as far as the content. But it just would have been nice if he would have allowed me to say, dude, that didn't happen there. That happened here. Right. That didn't happen there. That happened here. So that when people read it, they're not getting a misconception about who I am as a fighter and the hard work that I put in to train, and the actual Lions Den fighters. The way it's written looks like it was just a big party. And to me, that did it disjustice.
Makes a better Hollywood story, though.
Yeah,
huh?
right. Exactly right.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was about. It was about just entertainment. Didn't matter about when it happened or how it happened, just that it was entertaining. Period.
Didn't even change the names to protect the innocent.
No, and I didn't want that anyways, because I was very transparent. I told him, talk to whoever you want to talk to, because he was not going to get the stories unless I gave my permission. Because all my guys called me and said, hey, this guy wants to talk to me. Is it cool? I said, yeah, absolutely. Tell him the truth, because this is about more of a story about obstacles, things that I went through, and then how I overcome them. So we got to have the bad parts in order for people to see the good stuff. No. So it wasn't like I wanted them to hide anything. I wanted them to tell the truth, and they did. Like I said, the only problem was that I think he because of COVID and because of the time, he wanted to get the book out while people were still at home and staying at home.
Nothing to do, yeah.
Right.
I have nothing to do. I'll just buy his book, read it.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yep.
Try to put it together in my format.
Yes, yeah, and how he wanted it to be written in a way to where it looked like it was a mess, and because it seemed like that's more entertaining rather than. And I don't think it would have made a difference if he'd have just made sure that there was breaks in between, and that it was more. It wasn't so confusing about where it happened, how it happened. It was just kind of all of it just flows together, and it's like, man, that's a long career that I had. So it didn't happen like all of it happening one chain, like a chain party.
Chain smoking.
Oh, yeah, I can't party tonight. And then he went out and fought and won, and then he started partying. It's like, man, there was so much that happened in between that caused me to do those things. And those things were never really talked about of how I was led into those different situations.
Yeah, there's some things you want to forget. You know?
Yeah, but again, like I said, I was down for the truth. I just wish it would have been done more in a time of when the time frames were, how and why those time frames, and how it happened in those time frames, rather than it just all be running together.
Right.
So, man, it's been awesome with you three guys here. I'd never dreamed that this would happen, back in the day, right? Yep. By proxy, I spent a lot of years hating you, by proxy, man. Seriously. Uh-oh. His finger's up.
Uh-oh. Dan has a moment.
Yeah, Rich.
Okay, hold on.
What am I? The small cheese here on the cracker?
No. Well, you didn't have.
I see how it goes. Because I'm not there now. Huh?
No, you're not here. No, showed up.
Well, just to jump right back in there to things. I mean, Ken, where can folks find you, like on your social media, or if they want to get in contact with you? What's like a website or some of your social media? Just so that people know that Ken Shamrock's still out there, and
Yeah, And we didn't know you were alive.
Speaking
you
of
know?
engagements,
Neither
what
did
else
I.
did you?
There
Go
was a
ahead.
time where I didn't know either.
Yeah.
But
We
no,
wasn't in there.
actually, it's kenshamrock.com. It's got all my social platforms on the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the stuff. So you can just go to that one spot. And it also has a newsletter. We have newsletters that we deliver that you can get involved with on there. So go check out the website. And there's all the information's there. If you want to get involved as a fan, you want to be a part of the fan club, you want to be part of valorbk.com. That's another platform that we have that is with our fighting. So if you're a fighter or if a person wants to be involved in fighting or be involved in the actual business itself, or if you're a fan, you can go to valorbk.com and it's got all the information and the stuff that we're doing right now, where we're literally trying to find events, we're doing tryouts. All that information will be on there also. So you can go to Valor
Where's
BK.
it based out of?
What is?
The company. Where's the company?
Wyoming.
Wyoming?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That's because I think Wyoming, at least at that time, back when we did it, was the only state that allowed bare knuckle.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now there's I think 4 or 5 states now that actually allow bare knuckle.
Right.
So it's starting to open up like the old UFC did, where there was just a few states.
Yeah.
But it's starting to open up now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old UFC is funny because, the joke was, you after the fight, you either go to the after party or, you go to jail, or to the hospital, either after party or hospital.
Yeah.
But then after, the jail.
Jail,
was
right?
the
Yeah,
third one
yeah. They
there,
started
too.
arresting people.
Yeah.
It's like if you do bare knuckle, you can get arrested.
Yeah.
So
If you hit him, you get arrested. Wait, this is a fight, not
right,
him.
yeah, like it was like we're actually doing a fight. But if you hit him with a closed fist, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah. No karate chops.
Yeah, yeah. That was a crazy part then when they actually told us when me and Dan were supposed to fight in Detroit.
Yeah.
I literally said, okay, I'll just hit him open hand. And that was, in that fight, that was illegal. You weren't allowed to use your hands unless you had a glove on.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't, when did you hit him? And I was like, because I said, okay, open hand. Nope. I could still get arrested for an open hand strike to the head.
Really?
Yep. Because you had to wear a glove. That's what they came in and said.
Yeah.
If you were going to punch, you had to wear a glove.
Right. I knew McCarthy said, or we'll find you
Right.
sometime.
Yes, right.
somewhere,
At which, but here, that would have been fine too, except for just 2 weeks prior to that, over in Canada, over the bridge,
Right.
they arrested guys for an event, and I think that's what stuck in my head more than anything was like, they literally did arrest somebody. If they hadn't have prior to that, then it would have been okay. Well, yeah, this company don't care.
Yeah.
They're just going to slap us on the wrist. Oh, can't
Right.
slap on the wrist either.
Right, right.
What's up, Dan?
Uh-oh, the moment, the
Well,
finger.
let me interject there on that note. On that same note there, when Big John was going from locker room to locker room and basically saying what went down in that in court that day, John and I already had this relationship where he simply knew that I was going to ask questions.
Right.
So when he said that you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, otherwise you will be warned. And so when he said that, I'm like, oh, well, John, how many times are you going to be warned before any action is going to take place? Because now it's kind of going, are we going to be just tippy-toeing in that red zone, or are we going to be going stepping full on that red zone? I ended up watching the very first match after, I think, who was it that went out there and he hit like
He
half a
blitzed
dozen
him.
headbutts
Yeah.
right in a row. And all I heard Big John was go, warning, warning, warning. And I'm like going, well, I waited to see the match was over. Nobody was waiting at the gate with the handcuffs to take him away. I'm thinking, well, I'll just keep watching a few more matches to see how this kind of goes on here right now before I make up my actual decision.
So what Dan is doing
But
is
there
actually
was-
Dan.
In that
Dan's,
match, I don't know if you remember that this.
Dan, what you're doing is you're making it okay for you punching me.
Rationalizing it.
Yeah.
Well, no, again, well, call it rationalizing or simply. I always watch. I always watch the first match or two to see how referees are calling things because no two referees are alike. So I always would watch and hope you never knew what referee that you were going to get anyway, but you at least get an idea by then how are they calling things. So I was always big about trying to watch the referees within those first couple matches.
I thought John was doing all the fights.
You got a long time to kill there for the night.
Was it John the only referee back then? Was it John the only referee back then? Or did they have 2 referees?
Well, I mean, no, they would have a couple referees. I mean, as time progressed, more referees.
Right, but I thought.
But there was, during that. Again, during the second match in Detroit, I don't even know if Ken even heard me, but Big John, Ken had a full mount on me. For almost like 6 minutes. And each time that Ken tried to lift up to rain down, with whether they be open palms or not, I held onto his lat. So literally, he was trying to do like a push up with me parasited, holding right out to him, but like he's trying to lift me out up.
Yeah, I never threw.
And I saw Big John.
I never threw any hands. I never threw any hands. You watch that, you'll see I never threw any hands. Yeah. Even in the mount, I never threw anything.
Well, somebody hit me.
Yeah, I never threw any hands at all. Okay. Crossface, yes, crossface. I was doing that crossface like I normally do on top. I was crossfacing and stuff like that. But I never sat up and threw any hands whatsoever. Yeah, you can watch it. It's the truth. Okay. I promise.
Well, just during. Well, one of the funny segments of that there was as I'm underneath you, I see out of the corner of my eye, I see Big John, and he's walking around. He's kind of looking right there, and for just a moment there, I pop my head out from underneath your body. I look right up at him, and I go, "It's a hell of a way to make a buck." And I hopped right back underneath him, and he just shook his head. He just couldn't believe I came up with a one-liner like that.
Yeah, I didn't know what you said, but I knew you were talking to him. I knew you were talking to him because like I was sitting on top of you, and I was trying to control you from you rolling me. And I knew that you slipped your head out there and said something to him, and I didn't know what it was. I knew you said something like I don't, and I thought you were saying something like, "Well, he ain't doing anything. Stand us up."
There's no danger.
Yeah, right.
No, I was just hitting him with the little one-liner that he come to expect out of me anymore. So that was all I was doing.
Right.
I didn't want to let him down.
Right.
Well, here's the question for you, Ken. Now, just talking about the UFC in general, you have Rorion Gracie, who is the matchmaker. You've got the UFC Hall of Fame. You've got Royce Gracie, who is inducted into the Hall of Fame first. And to me, I keep thinking I want to get your thoughts and ideas as to what did you feel the whole UFC was about, especially in those early shows.
Yeah,
what was it really all about?
Yeah, no question. I think as we look back on it now, I mean, I think we know it was basically an advertisement for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, it was a paid advertisement.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. And the whole thing. It was a whole setup too, because even going into that first event, they must have changed it like 4 to 5 times on who I was supposed to fight, which they already knew how I was going to fight and how they were going to place Royce and me because I was the threat to Royce, and they knew that. Yeah. And so going in there, I literally didn't know who I was fighting or when I was fighting. And then they told me that I couldn't wear shoes. Like I could, and I've always, even in Japan, I wrestled. In Japan, I wore shoes. I had never been on a mat without shoes. And so in my mind, which was ignorant on my part, well, that ain't going to stop me. Like, not knowing how slippery that was really, because when I fought Pat, I had to tight waist him, and I had to kind of corkscrew him and trip him to get him down because I tried to step and get him, and my foot kept slipping even as I had the tight waist. And that's when I realized at that time, like, oh, this is a little more difficult than what I had actually thought. And so there was no question that and anybody that was in it will tell you that it was supposed to be no holds barred and no rules. Right. Anything goes.
Right.
The minute we get in there, they hold a rules meeting. Well, hold up. Yeah. Hold up. I thought this was no rules. Like, and they literally say especially for you got guys that they make money with their hands. Mm. So you got Gerard Godot and you got Art Jemerson. And they're both guys that fight with their hands, and they make big money with their hands. And now they're being told that they can't tape their hands. Like they can't tape their hands. And you're thinking, well, hold up. I thought you said there were no rules. And they took my shoes away. They took away one of the karate guys took away his kick pads, right? That he wanted to wear kick pads, which probably because he had a padding on there and he could kick him in the head, not hurt his shin. Right. So there were a lot of those things that were being going on where they were literally taking things out, and you were thinking to yourself, hold up, this is supposed to be no rules. Well, when I fought,
first time I fought Gary Goodridge, I grabbed hold of the cage. Let go of the cage.
There's no rules.
Oh, yeah, why? Yeah.
Right. So you're thinking to yourself,
he's making shit up while he's in there.
Every time. And that's exactly what the first one was like they were literally massaging it to fit whatever they needed for Hoist to win.
Right.
And so, when I went into fight Hoist and with no shoes on, when I actually shot on him and I was actually scrambling because I had his ankle and I was scrambling to get back to my knees to sit back with his ankle, I had no footing. Like I literally was slipping off the mat. Like a wrestling, when I had my shoes on, I could post on my feet and use the side of my shoe to get leverage to be able to come back around, sit back for that leg. I wasn't able to do that. My feet were slipping. And so as I tried to roll up, that's when he rolled the gi around my chin, my neck, and he choked me with it. And here I was told no shoes. Guys can't tape their hands because the shoes are a weapon. But yet I just got choked with the gi.
Yeah.
That was used as a weapon. So, and it was. It's exactly, it was that. And again, you can't not hate him for it. It was beautiful.
Yeah, smart. Very smart.
Right? I mean, it was beautiful. It was a smart move.
Didn't you always have wrestling shoes on, Dan, right? They allowed that when you were fighting on early.
Well, they did, but the only thing that they told me was if you wore shoes, you're not allowed to kick or stomp. And I'm thinking, well, what is Dan Severn losing on this? I don't kick or stomp anyway. But like what Ken was saying, though, the traction that you can get on that surface made the world of difference, because it's kind of like going out there. You can have on a vinyl surface, it's a vinyl tarp. If you throw any little bit of sweat on there, now to have any kind of footing on to you're not going to have any kind of footing. But just like what Ken is saying, that the wrestling shoes, they have this rubberized sole to it, even up on the side, to where as you're shooting up on the side of the shoe, you can still get great momentum. So I was a big advocate of wearing shoes up to the point that I could no longer wear shoes. As the sport changed from no holds barred to mixed martial arts, it's not like they flipped the light switch on and it changed in all the different states. It basically kind of just slowly progressed from state to state to state, that there would be sometimes I would be in a cage some night and I'm like, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this move. And as I'm holding my opponent down, I actually have to look up at the referee and go, hey, ref, am I allowed to do this? I'm tipping my hand to my opponent, but I didn't want to incur any violations that I could possibly get disqualified for. So again, that was just the sportsmanship portion of me that came through at that point. But I really wanted to hear Ken, because that's all it really ever was a marketing tool for selling Gracie Jiu-Jitsu franchises. They made more money off of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu franchises than anything else. But the thing is, and Art Davie was left in the dark on this, because he was a businessman. He wanted to bring this thing to come to life, but he wasn't a matchmaker. He didn't really understand the athlete and the athletic portion of it, and that's where he had heard about the Gracie Challenge, and he had met Jorge Gracie, and that's how that partnership came there. So I actually look at that Art as being very naive from the athletic perspective, and did all this part, and so I hold him harmless, and yet I look at Jorge as he took advantage, and you had, just as Don was saying before, you have to tip your hat to him. It worked for the Gracies, and they a lot of people know them, and they had the opportunity to do a lot of things. But is that the most complete form? No, it's not.
No.
And that's been proven when you look at the current athletes today. Where are there really the roots from? You've got to be very multifaceted still. But when you look at the top 10 men per weight class, 8 or 9 of them have that amateur wrestling foundation, and they had to acquire some striking skills and some submission skills. You usually have maybe one jiu-jitsu guy, but when it comes to strikers, I mean, Conor McGregor really is the only guy that actually made that lineup, except for the one new heavyweight now. Who is the knockout artist?
No, he's a big heavy-set African-American kid. He's a beast. I mean, he's a big dude.
Nagano's he's on quite the roll.
Yes, got some knockouts.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
He's a fucking 6'4".
Yeah. He destroyed that wrestler, the big wrestler guy that came in to fight him on his last one, and he got the best of him. I mean, I thought that was going to be a good fight.
Yeah.
But he caught him early. Yeah.
Huh. And Nagano, he's a monster. He's just a fucking monster. 6'4", 240. You know, I mean,
beast.
It'd be hard to beat that guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he's got good hands.
Yeah, but how's his ground though?
You see him
he's working on his ground, but that's why I thought for sure this last fight he was going against a guy that had Olympic quality wrestling, was same size as him, and I thought, okay, this is going to be a challenge, but he caught him early.
Yeah,
Caught him early.
Yeah, you get punched, it changes
Yeah.
all aspects of your game, man.
Did you see him uppercut Overeem?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Man, made him look like a Pez dispenser.
Really?
Yeah. Overeem, though, going into that, that's where you were going to find out whether or not Overeem still wanted to fight or if he still had the drive. And, you knew right then it was done. It was over.
Yeah.
Overeem.
He got taken right out.
Yeah. He got overreamed, but he was unique in his style too. He was good.
A great job.
Yeah.
He stuck around for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He had a hell of a run.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And he's, from my understanding, I don't know him personally, but my good friend of mine, JT, is good friends with him. Said he's a really nice guy. So, yeah. You like to hear that with guys that have done some things in MMA. They represented it well and good role models.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want people who have attitude problems. You know?
Right.
He's right.
You want guys that are too nice.
What are you trying to say there, Don? If I got an attitude problem here?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Mr. Summer.
I think it's the opposite. I think Dan is too nice.
Right.
Yeah.
It's too nice, and maybe that's part of it, that he doesn't want his opponents being mad at him, so they can't hit him. So, therefore it...
He wants to go out for ice cream afterwards. And wants them to pay.
Yeah.
Good little gimmick there.
Okay. Well, Don... And Don, because you brought that up, I mean, just within the last couple of weeks ago, Ken and I were back in New Jersey and New York for a couple of virtual signings, and virtual signings plus all people coming in person. We had one of his. Now
it was Steve.
What exactly is the role of
Steve?
Steve. I mean, he's shooting stuff. He's shooting a lot of footage for Valor, correct?
Yeah, Valor, and also our social media stuff. Yeah.
Ken?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So, I mean, that's kind of what a unique thing, because we end up going to Steve's parents' ice cream parlor, and we had ice cream.
Yeah.
Finally, he gets there.
Yeah.
And you know, Mr. Frye, did Dan Severn turn down ice cream?
No, not if it's free. No, I'm sure you filled your pockets with it before you left.
Well, it was also homemade ice cream. So his parents own a shop up there, and it's good, man. They have good ice cream.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Philadelphia. Yep.
Yeah. So they have the Beast and the Most Dangerous Man ice cream fudge sundae, or what?
Yeah, we're killing the
ice cream tour.
Yeah, we got soft.
Soft serve.
Yeah, we got soft.
So how's the bare knuckle fighting? All right. So are they taping it all, or it's just a bare knuckle?
That's the unique thing about our organization is that I don't want tape on the hands, because these guys all start, like, once it gets around the wrist, and they want it on the hands, and so no tape. You don't get any tape on the hands at all. It's
not
straight
even on the
bare
wrist.
knuckle. No, straight bare knuckle, because it gives you a false sense of security when you tape your hand, because it doesn't matter if you got tape on your hand.
Right.
So you're going to hit harder and you're going to break your hand.
Yeah.
So with no tape on there, it's literally pure bare knuckle. It's literally God-given talent. You don't got any equipment or anything to help you feel like you can punch harder. It's just what.
Well, you don't want to punch hard when you're bare knuckle, because you break it so damn easy. So there's a technique and a style to where you knock them out without damaging your own self, because you got to come out that next minute.
Yeah.
And is it Marcus of Queensberry rules, or what are the rules?
Yeah, it's basically it's going back to the traditional boxing, except for what we do is we're not allowing clinching to happen. So if you get in close, you can't grab them or tie them up, or you can't. You got to keep because it's bare knuckle, so your hands have to stay closed all the time. So even when you're blocking, you can't do this. They have to stay closed. So that way, when you go to throw a punch, your hand shouldn't be open. So if you happen to have your hands here and you do that, it was an accident.
Yeah.
So if you say, okay, the minute you step in there, your hands are closed. You cannot open them. And you got to fight with them closed. Even when you get close inside, your hands have to stay closed. And it eliminates that accident of somebody getting poked in the eye or somebody saying it's an accident. And it takes away a guy actually because they don't have gloves on. Now they're able to tie up with you and hold you and then recover if they get hurt. So by doing it this way, it makes the fight a lot faster. It makes guys have to fight.
Right.
Yeah.
But is it rounds or is it Marcus Queensberry?
No, it's rounds. So we start now. We're doing three 3-minute rounds.
Right.
So. And again, it's pure boxing. It's not the dirty boxing stuff where guys can grab you, hold you, and hit you. And if you watch the fights, as opposed to the other ones that are doing it, it's a lot faster when you don't let them grab, when you don't let them clinch.
Right.
Yeah. Takes that whole downtime out of it.
Yeah, it's fast, and that's what people want to see. And I think as a fighter, if you get a guy hurt, the last thing you want to do is be able to have him grab your wrist or grab you and hold you. You're like, come on. Like, it's hard enough with gloves on.
Well, how many warnings do you get then?
You get one warning. The next one is a point, and after that's disqualification. So it's immediate. We're not allowing, because as a fighter, one time is still hard. You give them two, that's a fight. That's you being able to change the fight.
Especially in 3 rounds,
Yeah. Well, 3 minutes too. And winning the rounds too. You got 3 rounds. If you lose 2, last round don't matter, right?
Hey, I wanted to go back a minute. Hold on. You said you wouldn't hit as hard because you wouldn't want to hurt your hand.
Right.
I've only known one person that didn't have the opportunity to hit somebody, or should I say, had the opportunity to hit somebody but didn't hit them as hard as they could for any certain reason. Would you ever not hit someone as hard as you could, whether you're bare knuckle or not?
Oh, absolutely. Because the difference is when you're fighting, it's you being a smart fighter. Because the idea to hit somebody in the soft tissue area as they're moving is really difficult. So what you would do is you would be hitting the spot. As soon as you get them hurt, then you throw hard. Because now you know you got them stopped, right? And now you can finish them. But as far as when you're starting to fight, you're finding your target. Right? You're finding your target. You do that even in MMA with short gloves on. You're not throwing hard. You're finding. But once you get them hurt, you know you've hurt them, then you go for the kill.
Yeah. That's where the sweet science comes in,
Yep.
You've got to pick your shots. You've got to be intelligent about it, and pick the placement, pick the speed, the power, I mean, because I remember in the UFC, back when we were fighting, they were taping it up to 1 inch behind the knuckle.
Yeah. It's like, what is that going to do, right?
That is completely stupid.
Yeah. It's a sense
and
of
I
security.
broke my hand, still with the glove and the tape on.
Yep. It doesn't make sense to get that security. Your knuckles are still exposed. So you're taping behind the hand, and you feel like you can hit hard.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, if you miss, you're going to hurt your hand.
Yeah, you're not stabilized in anything.
Right.
Except your wrist, which is good because
it means you can actually break your hand because your wrist's not going to give out.
So you get that puncher's break right there.
So we had this mutual friend, training partner. Crackhead steals his car, finds the guy, gets hit by his own car, is riding on top of the car, punching the guy through the window. He says, I had to not hit him as hard as I could because he was getting wobbly, and I didn't want him to crash my car while I was on top of it.
Now, to me, that's pretty level-headed for that situation, because I'd be like wanting to kill them. Like, you're going to die now, man.
Was that the second time? Because I know he rode top the car when his wife was cheating on him.
That was the same incident.
That's the same incident.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same incident.
Oh, wow.
This guy also push-started his truck after his vasectomy.
Yeah, he had a vasectomy, and he went out. It was a truck or Oldsmobile?
No, it was a truck. It was an old Dodge truck that didn't start. And
When
had to push-start it.
Hey, that guy's tough.
Yeah,
guess,
super tough
I
guy.
ain't going to move if I think that's going to get hurt.
Oh, this guy's so amazing.
He missed the timing wasn't right, but he could have been a world champ.
Oh yeah, he was 5 years too early.
Yeah.
Just a stud all the way up. Just a caveman. He's a fucking caveman.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've seen a few guys that when I was fighting and actually met them, where you knew if it would have come around earlier, they'd have no question. They'd have been right in their realm of personality and character.
Right.
Yeah.
But you read about these actors or other athletes that think I could have done it, but I didn't want to. Well, no, you either wanted to or you didn't.
Well, I wouldn't do it because I have to kill you.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. No, there's a competition factor in you. You know, if you wanted to do it, you'd have done it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not you didn't do it because you'd ruin your movie career.
Right.
You know, you'd ruin your movie career because you would
get
get
your ass
exposed.
kicked.
Yeah, you'd get exposed as a fucking joke.
Right.
You know, I mean, okay, you got the body, you got the strength, you got the speed.
Right.
You don't have the fucking mindset.
Nope.
You know,
If you did, you'd be doing it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no excuse not to do it.
No,
you know?
except for you don't want to get your ass kicked.
Right.
Period.
Right.
It's too much to risk.
Yeah.
Then you're putting it all out there.
Yeah.
You know.
I hear it all the time, like Steven Seagal
Oh, fuck,
and Chuck Norris but Chuck Norris will tell you, hey, that ain't for me. So he's not gonna bullshit. Chuck's going to say, hey, those guys are badass, right?
Yeah.
But there's some of them like Steven Seagal that will tell you, well, if I would have done it, I'd have to kill him or I'd hurt him. I'm not going to
Right.
do that. You're like,
Right.
shut up.
You're completely delusional.
Right.
Completely delusional. You know?
Right. Yeah. If you had that kind of skill, you'd be there in a second.
Yeah.
Just to show everybody how
Show
tough you
everybody,
are.
yeah. And that would increase the amount of movie money you would be getting, you know?
Yeah.
Like these fucking actors who do their own stunts. Bullshit. You know what?
Tom Cruise is one of them.
Right.
Oh, I do. Yeah, you
Bullshit.
run. You run on your own, and you show people how fast you are. But when it comes to the actual stunts, please.
They're not going to risk.
No.
You know, if I'm paying you $20 million to do a film, I'm not going to risk you getting hurt. And then we have to cease production for 6 months, you know?
Yep.
Wake up, people. Wake up. It's full of shit.
Yeah, I mean, then they go through the way they take guns from people.
Yeah.
And then they're like, and the fans are like, dude, man, that was, boy, I wouldn't have had to point a gun at you. And you're like, yeah, you know, I've been training for a long time and really hard to be able to do that. And you're looking at him going, brother, you took probably 7 takes to get it right.
Yeah.
You don't get 7 takes when a guy has a gun at your head.
And the trigger's right there on the finger, you know?
And the guy's letting you take it. You're like,
Yeah.
shut up, man.
Yeah.
That's so irritating.
Yeah, it's a 2-pound trigger pull, you know?
Yeah, you hit my hand, it's going off.
Yeah. I sneeze.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, you gotta love the fake world, the ones that never ever in their entire life been in a fight.
Right.
But now they've done some acting and they've gone through a few holds. Yep, don't mess with them. They're truly badass.
Yeah.
But guess what? There's a whole generation and a half that believes all this crap.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, that just buys it.
Oh, yeah.
Buys the fake video of Bruce Lee playing ping pong against two guys
that one
with
drives me
the
nuts.
nunchucks.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee would have killed all of you guys.
Yeah.
Shut up. The guy weighs 120 pounds.
Yeah.
He could hit me with every shot he had, and I'd smile at him.
Yeah.
Come on, I like the guy. Don't get me wrong. I thought he
right.
was awesome, man. I loved him in movies, but
He's
please.
a movie star.
Yeah.
They fucking cut, take, cut, action. They do 10 takes to get the one scene,
Yeah, and then they speed it up too. Like they even though he was fast, but it just was much more impressive when they can make it faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, goodness, please.
Oh, it drives you crazy because the people actually believe it. And then people who were in the pro wrestling world would believe it too. And you're like, wait, nothing's real in our world. Nothing.
Right.
And you're actually going to believe that? That's Hollywood. There's nothing even less real than that, less than nothing real.
And they want you to make sure that they believe it because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to make sure that you believe what we do. We're stuntmen.
Right.
We want you to know that when we fall from the top rope or take a suplex, that we are doing it because we are. We just know how to fall.
Right.
We know how to take it flat. We know what we slam the hands down. We know how to break it. But it ain't going to happen in a real fight. It ain't happening like that.
Like Dan's double souffle on that poor kid. What was his name, Dan? Macias?
Oh, my goodness. That's a highlight
man, he was
reel.
shaking his head. You get that happen to you out in the street, man. You know what?
It's over.
It's over.
Right. Yeah, he'd have been
In the
dead.
parking lot, the curb, the car. You suplex somebody. I mean, I remember Chip Park. Chip was like a 120-pounder, at ASU.
Mm-hmm.
And him and one of the other guys, they were pulling into a Circle K, and these two rednecks, stop, they give him shit, and okay, and so the guys parked their truck, and they put their girlfriends on the tailgate.
Oh, smart.
This will just take a minute, honey,
Only in the movie. Take a minute, honey. Be right back.
Yeah. Chip suplexes this guy right to his fucking truck, and boom.
Then took his girls. Like, come on, girls.
It
only take a minute.
I mean, Chip's this fucking tall,
Right.
but his arms are this long.
It's like,
he's a knuckle dragger.
It's time for you to get your flight license.
Yeah.
Little Chip.
He's a monster, man. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah, he's like, come on, girls. It'll only take a minute.
Yeah. Boom, boom. Wrong minute.
Yeah, no, that he said that to the girls. Okay, girls, come on with me. It'll only take a minute.
Like I said, it's the wrong minute, man. Chip's minute, not your minute, buddy.
Right. These are on my terms, not yours.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is you don't know who you're mouthing off to in that other truck, and
Yeah.
they got no idea. Yeah, okay. No. Well, I look like an old man in the car.
Until you hit the guy, is like, damn.
Well, and the door closed and the steering wheel. Yeah, okay, let's get out. Okay.
But when he slammed the brakes on that Prius, I knew the shit was gonna hit the fan.
Yeah, I've had a few of mine where my kids were actually in the car too, man. My boys, they were a little bit older. Guy pulls up, has his kid in the car. He's 18. Pulls over. I get out. I told my kid, stay in the car. I had my little grandkid in there. We just come from the water park. I didn't say that. I said, hang on for a second. I get out, and my son's saying, Dad, stop. And I'm like, I was hot. Yeah. Cut me off, followed me. So I get out. He parks on the other side. He comes across the road towards me. Yeah. I get out of my car, stand in front of him. I say, you take another step, I'm going to take you out, because my kids were in the car.
Yeah.
And he kept coming, so I hit him. I dropped him right there, knocked his teeth out. He gets up, crawls to the outside, and all the cars are stopped at the light, right? And my kids didn't get out. I told them to stay in the car because they tried to get out. I said, stay in the car.
Yeah.
And then the other kid came out from the back of it. I didn't know it was his son. Looked like another guy, right? So he comes out, and I look at him, and he takes off. Cops show up. He's sitting on the curb, the far side, because he came after I hit him where I was at by my car. The cops come over, and they knew who I was, and they were kind of laughing. I guess they picked the wrong guy today. And I said, yeah. He says that you came over to your car and you hit him. And I said, yeah, is that just kind of funny? His teeth are laying right near mine.
Hey, at least his kid was smarter. Huh? He's like, My dad could whoop me. You whoop my dad. I'm gonna be over here waiting for you.
Be playing pong.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I didn't know it was his kid when he came out. So if I'd have known, and obviously I wouldn't have done anything, and I didn't. But if he would have come closer, I'd have dropped him, right? And he was 18 years old, so that wouldn't have turned out well. But he hightailed it, so it worked out good. Yeah, and see, Dan, tell us about your street fights.
You ever been in a street fight, Dan?
You got to fight. You got in a fight with that little girl over the ice cream truck. She cut in front of the line.
She got the last sandwich. Last ice cream sandwich.
He tried to take your ice cream.
Pissed him off. Look, see,
I feel like a scapegoat here right now. I feel like you guys are picking on me right now. I'm just a scapegoat.
That's what happens when you don't show up.
Yeah, you don't show up. We rearrange the schedule. What happened to me?
It's a tough crowd. It's a tough crowd.
And we're going to eat too, man.
Have to be incognito now.
Tony's making burritos, and we're going to have something to eat. And I don't know if we're going to let you watch or we'll just click off on you.
Well, okay. See, but you're saying that you're having burritos, so probably you're going to have some beans. So the way we started this conversation tonight, you wouldn't have want me from an hour from now it'd be in your home anyway, Don. You'd be throwing me out.
I don't want you in my home anyway, whether you're eating beans or not.
When you're fasting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Quinn wants me in the house, so there. So yeah, Quinn does.
Because you cover for her?
Yeah.
She can blame you.
Oh, man. Well.
Oh, it's a brutal.
How long have you known her?
Huh? Too long.
Quinn?
And no, Daniela.
Yeah. Who's he talking about?
With the dog.
Oh, Quinn. He's on Quinn's my girl.
Oh. How long has Dan
The
known his
dog.
girl?
Huh?
How long has Dan known his girl?
I don't know. Yeah, Mr. Severn. How long have you been married?
Oh, you guys are still in the honeymoon. Don't jinx it.
Oh, he's in Michigan. He's not married while he's in Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
State, cross state lines.
What is it? 300 miles?
State lines.
Okay, he's just back to being his cousin.
Rich, you need to put a gag. You need to put a gag over it or not. He's going on a little bit too much here now. He's just
Oh, so you're into that, huh? Gags.
Got the ball gag, yeah. Handcuffs and ball gag.
yeah.
He liked that movie Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. or that old one with was it Kurt Russell, Squeal Like a Pig?
Oh, yeah.
Nah, Burt Reynolds.
Oh, Burt Reynolds. Yes,
What was
that's
that?
it.
Dueling Banjos.
Deliverance.
Deliverance. Yes. What a good movie. Yep.
Yeah, Dan auditioned for that, and he was too civilized for the part. Looked too clean. Wasn't believable.
It would have been perfect.
Mr. Frye. I just so know here right now.
He had one tooth too many.
Oh, man. Oh, that's brutal.
Well, Ken, here's a question for you. What kind of a legacy do you hope to leave behind? The inevitability is all of us must part this earth one day. But what is the legacy that you hope to leave behind? Of what either what did Ken Shamrock stand for, or what did Ken Shamrock leave behind in his absence? What do you hope that legacy will be?
Yeah, I mean, for me, when you talk about my career and the success that I had in my career, the one thing that I would always want to go back to was that, anytime that you, especially for young guys, anytime that you come across obstacles or things that kind of derail you from really achieving your goals, is not to blame other people for it. Like, don't go, well, I blew my knee, or I did this, or so I wasn't able to do. It's like the one thing that I did in my career was that I depended on myself, even though I had people outside helping me and giving me opportunities, but I was the one that had to do it. So the legacy that I hope that I leave behind is that anybody can accomplish anything they want to do, especially with the way my background and where I came from, as long as you're willing to put the work in and go in there and do it, because no one can do it for you. You have to do it. So I would just say, yeah, if my legacy is that, it's about being able to persevere and being able to accomplish things that I set my mind out to do by hard work and dedication. And it has nothing to do with belts.
That's a very honorable, great legacy to leave behind.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with belts. It has nothing to do with winning all of these different championships. But because really none of that really matters unless you're willing to put the work in, unless you're willing to go do what you have to do to get it done. And I think a lot of guys start focusing on money, start focusing on winning belts or winning championships before they ever understand what it is to win it.
Yeah, you've got to be willing to put in the work even after you're injured.
Yep.
You know, yeah, and there's a difference between being hurt and being injured.
Right.
You know, a big difference.
Absolutely.
And, you know, hurt's so temporary. You know, it's a blink of an eye, and injured is temporary too.
Right.
But it's a little bit longer temporary, a little bit more painful temporary.
Yeah, it's what are you willing to do to get back to where you need to be? I broke my neck. You know, you had your issues. We all have different things in our career that derailed us from being able to keep moving forward for most people. But for us, it was like, it's just another obstacle that we have to get over in order to get back to what we want to do.
Yeah. Another scar.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not going to stop us from accomplishing the goals we want to accomplish.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to delay it. That's
Yeah,
all it is.
that's it. Yeah.
Injuries a delay in time.
Yep. That's it, man. Because it's an excuse at the end of the day. It's just an excuse.
Right.
If you allow it to be. Right. Otherwise, at the end of the day, it's just an obstacle that you conquered.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, same question to you, man. What do you want your legacy to be? What, you know, when they say Dan's gone,
simply that. No. Simply that I made a difference. That's all. I made a difference. Saying a lot of things that Ken just said. I made a difference because I helped people do this. I helped people do that. I mean, the fact is that I made a difference in my little slice of heaven here, you know. So that's all it is. I made a difference.
what about you, Don?
That's.
Are you done?
No, I could go on some more if you like.
Go right ahead. Legacy, shit. I'm just happy somebody remembers me. Shit, you know. Especially, I did.
Well, but the thing is, because of the electronics, we have all this gadgetry that long after we're gone, they're still going to have all this digital type of stuff. They'll be able to go and they'll see us talking on this podcast, and they may be using us as, well, look at these prehistoric creatures here right now, you know, very unsophisticated barbarians who engaged in the physicalities of macho isms of one-on-one inside of a cage. And you know, the way that our country's going, I mean, we could be very much a distinct or extinct
Species?
Extinct commodity. I mean, again, so you talk about real men, or you talk about people or men that actually display masculine traits, you know,
Toxic.
of standing up and
Toxic is
having
a good word. Toxic.
Well, again,
Hence the name of.
toxic,
Hence
but,
the name
toxic
of.
to me, it's just being a real man.
Yeah,
Right,
you know,
right.
getting up and when a woman comes in the room, shaking people's hands,
Open her
introducing
door,
yourself,
right.
opening the door, helping older people. That's become that's a masculine thing that men used to do, and now
it's an insult.
Now it's an insult. You could get slapped for trying to help somebody to their car or something. You know, that's wrong.
They
that's
think
not cool.
you're gonna rob them.
Well, me personally, yeah.
And I've literally had women where I'd be in an airport, in an airline, sitting down, and I would get up and grab somebody's suitcase,
Right.
and literally the person would say, "I can get it myself." And I get angry because I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I was like, I'm just helping. And they would get upset at you for trying to. So now you don't do it until you know somebody. You'll ask them, hey, you want me to get that? I normally wouldn't do that, but because of some of the things that has happened to me while I've gotten somebody's down, I don't do that no more. So I'll literally ask, hey, you want me to take that? And they'll say yes, or no, I got it, because they'll light you up for getting down their suitcase. It's like, what do you think?
Maybe they recognized you from when you were a kid stealing shit. That's that kid that stole my bike.
You robbed my parents.
You were 13. 10 years old, you strong arm.
Yeah. I was like, lose it. Yeah, what'd you get arrested for? Strong arm robbery.
You were 10, man.
Junior high school knickknacks.
Stealing lunch money.
Yeah. I got a basketball and a dodgeball.
Yeah, I got 35 cents.
Yeah, all 5 jugs of milk back then.
Right.
Come on.
You could steal my bike. You could steal my books, my pencils. But come for my lunch money.
Got
man,
a lot of
fighting.
stereo. Got a lot of stereo systems out of cars, man.
Oh shit! Then I got one that needs to be put in.
Yeah, let me get to that. I know that. Well, nowadays, man, you break into a car, it handcuffs you.
I didn't know that. How'd you find that out?
Right.
When Ken showed up, I asked the guys to lock my car.
Where's my stereo? Old habit.
Yeah, you never know. Relapse.
Just testing the workmanship of it.
Right. I ran out of money, man. I got to start somewhere.
Oh, geez, don't.
Right.
Back to the no money thing.
Hey, Don, we'll start a business, man. We'll go online and say, need a stereo? We got whatever you want. Just tell us what it is you need.
Tell us what you want. I'm going to get it for you.
All right.
All right, Mr. Severn. I know. I see you're chomping at the bit to say something.
Well, no. On that note, I'll go like this because I think Tony will be happy with this. I'll simply say, on behalf of Don
people.
the Predator Frye and myself, and to be severed, it has been a lot of fun having the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, in the studio for another episode of Toxic Masculinity. How real men can converse even if we don't agree on everything. Signing off.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Good job.
So we're done.
I mean,
Hey,
we can still talk.
Hold up.
We can still talk.
No, wait a
At
minute.
least
So
Tony's got his sign off.
Hold up. And so wait a minute. I want to know this. So now we're off and we can be real?
Yeah.
Okay, hey, screw you, Dan.
Yeah, I fucking never liked you guys.
Jeez, that guy's annoying.
Never liked you, still don't.
Just sit through another minute.
Catch that on film.
They did.